waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit, but actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies. Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And a very, very happy Christmas Eve to you. I'm Nick de Bois, sitting in for the great Ian Collins. Fantastic to have your company. And let's make this your show. The number to call, 0344 499 1000. If you've got anything to say, don't worry. I've got guests, I've got topics and features. I'll be giving you lots of ideas and gauging your reaction. Just get off your chest what you want to say. It's that time of year to download. And then, who knows, at the end of all of this, we may be able to fill you with some hope for the future. More on that later. But I'm also going to have a bit of fun. Guess what? You're going to get Nick de Bois' selection of Christmas cracker jokes. And here's the first one. What does snowman eat for breakfast? Ta-da! Ice Krispies. There you go. They're going to be that bad. But hey, if I can't bring a smile to your face at any point during the next 3 hours, I will have failed. You can let me know your opinion, both of the crackers and whatever's on your mind. 0344 499 1000. Now, let's kick off because Labour have softened its controversial inheritance tax changes, as by now I'm sure you're aware. But it came after a year of protests from farmers, you know, those people who do the unimportant things in life, like giving us food. Sir Keir Starmer has raised the tax-free threshold on agricultural estates from £1 million to £2.5 million. Sounds a lot of money, doesn't it, before you pay tax? But we'll be talking to a farmer just to get into that. The Treasury says the move will halve the number of farms affected at a cost of around £130 million. Yes, at a cost. They shouldn't have imposed the thing in the first place, frankly. Farming groups have welcomed the change, though critics say many family farms will still face big bills. Meanwhile, police leaders are proposing to scrap non-crime hate crimes. Incidents. Seriously, how stupid is that? Non-crime incidents, yet the police were looking at non-crime. That will say, I'm sure, you'll agree that the system is no longer fit for purpose. Well, they've woken up to that. Campaigners want, however, historic records wiped. Rightly so. If you're now saying these shouldn't have happened and they're a bit silly, times have changed, wipe the record clean. Will Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, review the plans positively and do that? And of course, we all know that the police have dropped their investigation into Bob Villan Glastonbury chant targeting the Israeli Defence Forces, saying it didn't meet the threshold for prosecution and it was too complex. Well, that decision's drawn strong criticism from Jewish groups for sure, but it also drew a lot of criticism from the wider population here in Britain. And who better to kick off the first half hour but the great London former police detective Peter Bleksley. Peter, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Before we do anything, I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say a wonderful Christmas to you. I hope you have a fantastic time with you and your family. But the second thing I'm going to say is, before we talk about anything else, your show next year. I was looking at all the dates and the venues, man. Will you stop? Will you have a day off?
Fortunately, there will be some days off, but thank you. I'm embarking on a 140 theatre tour in 2026.
It's huge.
Yeah, travelling the length and breadth of the UK, coming to a theatre invariably near you with a very unique one-man show. If true crime's your thing, go to peterbleksley.com and buy that last-minute Christmas gift.
But I did that, Peter, and I'm very disappointed to see that the South Mill Theatre in Bishop Stortford is not on your list. By the way, it used to be called the Rhodes Theatre. So for those of you who managed to survive the woke era, it's the Rhodes Theatre I'm talking about in Bishop Stortford. But I was very disappointed to see you weren't on my doorstep. I would have had you round for a beer.
Well, it's worth the travel, Nick, if you want to venture a little bit further.
I will be. I will see you there. I'm looking forward to it. But just to get you in the mood, I won't give you a Christmas cracker joke, but I want your immediate reaction to the big political story that's been going around about the, frankly, in my opinion, vindictive tax that was put on farmers. And after a year of actually digging in and saying this tax is here to stay, despite the horrors that we're putting on many farmers who were worried about their future to the point even taking their own lives of those who were sick and ill, they've rowed back. What was your reaction to the climb down?
Yet another U-turn by a government that fundamentally cannot understand the feelings of the nation until it's way too late, until their reputation gets shredded once again. A little bit later on today, I'll be helping my wife with some of the veg for tomorrow. And when we go to the supermarket and we pick up a bag of veg, we are always mindful to buy it as local as we possibly can. In other words, British produce. Because this is how important farmers are to us. Everybody tomorrow will have something on their table created, farmed by a British farmer. And they got this so wrong, this vindictive, spiteful tax. It was the politics of envy, beautifully personified in one malicious tax.
Do you know what gets me about this at the moment is that Rachel Reeves, the architect of this tax, which, by the way, other previous governments have been offered it by the civil servants in the Treasury, and they went, no, that's a really bad idea. She goes along with it. And where is she now? Where is Rachel Reeves to explain why she has spent a year giving people hell, basically, and fear and worry, and now it's gone?
missing in action. No surprise there. She was very visible in the run-up to the budget with that press conference that she had, which surprised many people. It broke with convention. She was everywhere, hogging the airwaves and getting lots of column inches prior to her budget. And then, of course, it got rinsed when all the punitive details of it were released. This is typical of this government. For people who are supposed to be in politics, it's astonishing how badly and how often they get the politicking actually wrong. I think with regards to Starmer, he managed to knock his own party into shape in certain ways. But when it comes to running a country, the man has been found to fall way, way, way short of what's required.
He doesn't have the instinctive sense or touch that whatever you thought of their politics, people like Tony Blair had, that they would instinctively be able to point to something and say, we're getting that wrong. Now, he made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but he actually was able to have a far better sense of politically what may or may not be acceptable. We've literally got a nondescript, and this is offensive, and I don't mean to be, a bank manager who literally does not know anything else about except process. It strikes me as this is definitely not a leader we have in number 10.
And whilst Keir Starmer has called himself various things, like a hard man in the past, which is quite frankly laughable, one title that he will never be able to hold is that of man of the people. Fundamentally isn't. I was watching the darts last night, which is a wonderful spectacle. I love it. And there were thousands of people, literally thousands of people, chanting a very derogatory chant about Keir Starmer last night, which I thought was a great snapshot and a window into the far wider discontent that there is with this man, his lamentable cabinet and his appalling government.
And that's a verdict that is worrying his backbench MPs, obviously, because they are something like third or fourth in the polls now. But there's something else that I don't think we should let them off the hook, and I would urge anyone who agrees with me to think about this. And Peter, you may have seen it. In the last 24 hours, we've seen junior ministers, we've seen MPs, we've even seen middle-ranking ministers come out and kind of suggest that, you know what, I was never really for this policy and I've worked really hard in the background to get it changed, and I'm ever so pleased that we've done this now. Only one Labour MP voted against it, all right, and that about 50 or 60, I think, abstained, which is a bit spineless, frankly, in my opinion. And now they are trying to row back and con their electorate that they were always against this and they've worked very hard and we deserve thanks for it. What utter nonsense.
Well, let's take a look at many of those backbench Labour MPs, shall we, who were elected at the last election with that stonking 144 majority. A lot of those MPs, new to Parliament, frankly underqualified for the job, they know full well that they are never going to earn anything like the £90,000 they are currently trousering, because their talents are simply not worth that out in the real world. So they are desperate to hold on to their constituencies so that they continue to enjoy a very well-paid job. And of course, the backbenchers, we know, rebelled over the welfare reforms that Starmer tried to get through and manifestly failed. And I think these MPs, many of them, are putting themselves before their party best interests, but moreover, they're putting themselves before their constituents and the wider British public.
Well, as we know, Peter, the really good thing about democracy is that the constituents get their say, and I wonder how long their memories are. And I'm sure, Peter, they will also have a view on the story that was in The Sun today about housing illegal migrants in hotels on Christmas Day. And really, the story is saying during the month of December, we're spending X million, and Christmas Day is going to cost 5.3 million to house illegal migrants in hotels. It's kind of a clever story because it focuses your mind on, never mind just the money, which is important, the unfairness of it when you think about the people who will not be enjoying necessarily even a roof over their head, let alone a hot meal, never mind, and the security that they have that many of our own British citizens don't have. It's meant to be sorted out by smashing the gangs. That's what Keir Starmer promised us, and they'd end the hotels. No sign of that, is there?
More empty, hollow words from this Prime Minister that, quite frankly, will never come to fruition. In the last 12 days or so, we've had over 2,000 more of these illegal migrants wash up on our shores. They add to the greater number already being housed in hotels, clothed, fed, given medical treatments, and much more, all at taxpayer expense. And of course, these boats are a very visceral, visible kind of symbol of what is wrong with Britain in so many regards. Open, unsecure borders, money being spent where it doesn't need to be spent, and a government who is not getting a grip.
It's also true that, again, I go back to these really... I used to be an MP, so I don't like using harsh words really about them, because I do remember that they're human beings, but they're spineless backbench MPs who only, I think it was 10 days ago or thereabouts, because we'd had 1 week of really bad weather, they were all taking to Twitter and saying, 0 boat people have come into this country, 0 illegal migrants. You know, we promised you we'd deliver, and this is much to do, but what a great start. Now we don't hear sight nor sound of them. That is old politics. It takes us for fools, doesn't it, that to believe that we're not aware that the weather influences who crosses the channel.
There was a window of about 28 days when we didn't have any of these dinghies being intercepted and all the illegal migrants being brought to the UK. But the British people are not stupid. If you'd looked out of your window on any of those 28 days, you'd have seen that the wind was blowing a gale and it was pouring with rain.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to cross the road, let alone the channel.
Exactly. So, of course, these dinghies were not able to come to the UK. That was blatantly obvious for all to see. As soon as the weather went a bit calmer, we had thousands coming in, including 803 last Saturday alone.
Yeah, I know. Listen, Peter, before we have the break, and you're staying with us, I've got a message for you, and there's a winky face at the end of it, so don't get cross with me. Can you tell Mr. Blexley not to fib? He said width and breadth of the country for his tour. I didn't see any Scottish dates, and I'm very sad about that. Then he winks. You're not going to Scotland, Peter.
Let me tell that contributor that I'm doing a lot of dates in Scotland, starting in Kirkcaldy on the 17th of June, doing Aberdeen, Arbroath, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and more.
Wow,
so please, go on peterblexley.com and you'll find all the dates there.
Anne, right, you're going to be, there you go, you got it. Anne, you persuaded Peter Blexley to ring up and organise the theatre in Scotland, just like that. And next he's going to do Bishop Stortford for me. Peter, we'll come back to you after the break. And if you want to join the conversation, 0344 499 1000. Later on in the show, I'm going to be talking about the Christmas messages from politicians, and in particular from Keir Starmer, which was the most dour, downpan, deadbeat message I've ever heard at Christmas, right? So it's your turn. What message would you give the Prime Minister, or indeed any leader of the party? You can send me a voicemail, keep it under a minute if you can, 0344 499 1000, and keep it polite so I can read it out or we can listen to it. Or you can call me, of course, and join the Christmas Eve conversation with me, Nick de Bois, in for Ian Collins on 0344 499 1000.
brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome back. It's Nick de Bois sitting in for Ian Collins. My guest Peter Bleksley is with me. I should really ask you, what would your Christmas message be to the Prime Minister, Peter? That's putting you on the spot a little bit, isn't it?
Resign.
I had a wager with myself you would say that, and I suspect I might get a few of those. If you want to join the conversation, 0344 499 1000, or if you want to text us with your message to the Prime Minister, text the word talk and your message to 87222, or of course you can WhatsApp us on 0344 499 1000. Peter, non-crime hate incidents, probably one of the most stupidest things to get the police involved with, in my opinion. There's talk that they're going to be rowed back. We know that. But what we also saw today is growing calls to wipe the records clean of people who've literally been listed, documented, have it on their record that they had a non-hate crime incident. First of all, is that possible? And secondly, what's your thoughts on it?
The nation owes a great debt to Lord Toby Young and the Free Speech Union, who have done so much to protect people who have been maliciously and unnecessarily prosecuted for saying what they think. And it's Lord Toby Young, among others, that has called upon the government to expunge all the records of anybody who's been shown to have a non-crime hate incident recorded against their name. And this is the right thing to do, because they can still be shown up for job applications for certain roles. So if you've not committed a crime, why should you have some blight on a record that simply shouldn't be there, that could affect the rest of your life? So of course they need to be expunged, wiped from the record, destroyed, got rid of, so that people who were merely saying what they were thinking and not breaking the law will not be hampered in getting future employment.
Doesn't it point to a complete failure to understand to how to tackle, if you like, anti-Semitism, for example, or genuine attacks on trans people that go way beyond the idea of an incident? It's as if the government don't know how to deal with it, and the police get a bit caught in the middle here. I mean, I've no sympathy with senior officers sending out 5 police officers to arrest someone at an airport and all that stuff, but it just speaks to everyone's grappling in the dark how to deal with this, aren't they?
No. Senior police officers have been responsible for massive overreach when it comes to free speech, and they chose to use non-crime hate incidents as a method of trying to control the great unwashed, the populace, the type of people like me who go onto social media and say what I think. Huge overreach, bit of a hangover from COVID, I think, when they liked the additional authoritarian powers that were granted to them, and they've completely gone beyond their remit, which is to prevent crime, investigate crime, and keep the peace.
But Peter, how do you square that, and I don't disagree, with the ghastly decision, in my opinion, you may be able to shed some light on it, to not prosecute Bob Villan for those frankly insightful hatred, inciting basically death to the IDF at Glastonbury, subsequently broadcast and live streamed. And they'll come round and knock on your door if you're thinking and putting on tweets something that you might even take down 10 minutes later that is going to offend people, but not go after this guy?
Yeah, we'd be having a very, very different conversation if the repugnant and repulsive Bob Villam had stood on that Glastonbury stage and shouted to the audience, "Death, death to the Avon and Somerset police." Because in all likelihood, Avon and Somerset police would have been patrolling Glastonbury, I'm sure they were, and people could have taken that incitement on board and literally caused harm to Avon and Somerset police officers. But he didn't. He called upon death to the IDF, the military body of a foreign country some many, many miles away from the UK. And I suspect that part of the legal discussions that went on, and of course we're not made privy to those, we should be, the legal advice that Avon and Somerset police received should be made public so we can understand the reasoning. I think they probably thought, well, he's calling for death to this foreign army, so therefore the audience that he's speaking to are not in a position to actually carry that out. Therefore, they've not prosecuted. That would be my best guess.
And I understand from their very, very vague full press release that they issued that basically they said, oh, it's difficult to prove intent, what was behind the words, what were the meaning, and so we basically went out and asked 200 people, one way or the other, if they were troubled by it or not, and that formed part of our reasoning why we wouldn't prosecute. I mean, seriously, getting an opinion from 200 people of which we know nothing about, which is an inadequate sample anyway, is that what we do now before we decide to prosecute someone?
Yeah, they certainly didn't ask me for my opinion.
No.
But no, this is symptomatic of fluffy, flaky, liberal, woke nonsense policing that plagues so much of the UK these days. Of course, well, on a brighter note though, and it's Christmas Eve, there is a review of public order legislation and hate crime legislation being carried out. Now, surely the law needs to be changed, because even if Villam was calling for the death of a foreign army many, many miles from the UK, I think that is beyond the pale. I'm all for free speech, but I've never called for the death of anybody, and I don't think it should be allowed to stand up on a stage and chant such a thing.
Maybe the death of woke is a legitimate approach to say, but there we are not talking about a body of people, are we? So I'm going to give you a bit of Christmas spirit here, right? First of all, I'm going to boost your sales if you can answer this property for your tickets. Hi, Nick, just watching your show, says Jill. Can you ask Peter if he can come to Hall for Cornwall? Hall for Cornwall in Truro, please. There you go. Another one for you to get on your list, Peter. You're in great demand.
Right. I will speak to the promoter. I am already doing 140 theatres next year.
Come on, man.
But I'll speak to the promoter and say, come on, let's have a look at Cornwall. I think there is a Cornwall date there, but I'm not entirely sure where it is. And if your lovely Scottish member of the audience is still listening, I discovered that I'm also doing Greenock, and I'm also doing somewhere else in Scotland. So please check out the list of dates on my website and find somewhere that's within reasonable travelling distance.
Do you have crackers at your Christmas lunch?
Oh, yes, they're all ready, and the table will be laid later on tonight. I'm
going to ask you a question. I'm doing Christmas cracker jokes here because obviously I don't want to keep my wonderful audience at all by reading out bad jokes, but I'm going to make a smile somewhere. What do you get if you cross Santa with a duck?
Santa with a duck.
Boom, boom, boom. Come on, 3 seconds. No, not a chance. A Christmas cracker.
Marvellous.
Oh, yes. Actually, I'm getting some messaged in. I'm going to add them to my list. It's been fantastic. I know I haven't been on air a lot this year because I've moved on and doing some lovely cover work, but I think fondly of you. I listen to you all the time. You're one of my favourite guests. Peter Bleksley, have a great Christmas and a happy New Year, and thank you for all that you do and working with us here at Talk.
Thank you very much, Nick, and very best wishes to all of your audience. It's been a great honour to be able to speak to them throughout the year.
There you go. Lovely man. Peter Bleksley joining us there. Next, coming up, I'm going to be talking to James Wright. Now, he's a farmer in southwest England. He's not arable, which is what we've heard a lot from yesterday. We're talking to a cow and sheep farmer in Exmoor. And I'll obviously be talking about some of the aspects of Labour's U-turn on this inheritance tax. Just to give you context, When I was in Parliament between 10 and 15, David Cameron used to lead us up to the top of the hill just to get us to defend some silly policies. As it happens, I would rarely do that unless I really agreed with it. So I would oppose it if it came out in those days, probably why I never got re-elected. But what's actually happened there, they were not seismic issues. They were important issues to people, but they weren't seismic. This is a seismic political event, not least because it's a budget measure, another budget measure that's come under scrutiny. But it's also seismic for the people who are at the end of this, the farmers. And we'll be talking to James Wright to find out more about that. You can join the conversation, 0344 499 1000. It's your show. Let's talk about what you want to do. But I think Peter Blexley and I have given you quite a lot to think about as well. And you can do that by a voice message as well. Keep them less than 1 minute. I really enjoy playing those out. You'll make my Christmas if you do that. And who knows, if I get enough of those, I won't have to read out more Christmas cracker jokes to make you groan. Join me, Nick de Bois, sitting in for Ian Collins here today until 4.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, Keir Starmer has given us his Christmas message, and I will play it later. I'm sorry, I'll try not to depress you because it is so downbeat. But I'm asking you, what is your message to Keir Starmer, or indeed any other political leader? And you are answering in droves. I'm looking forward to reading some of those out. Nick, my message to Keir Starmer is man up, call a general election, says Michael in York. My message to Starmer is get the hell out of Downing Street and our lives. Have a lovely Christmas, Nick, says Kaz from Staffordshire. Plenty of those around. And of course, there's been a lot of anger and frustration with Labour, and that's probably why they're third or fourth in the polls. Yesterday, they backed down on controversial inheritance tax changes for farmers after, frankly, months, about a year of furious protests, including high-profile support from farmer and celebrity Jeremy Clarkson and obviously much more widely in the rural communities. So basically, in a nutshell, they were going to be taxed for on death inheritance tax where they only had a threshold of 1 million, which might sound a lot, but we'll get into that. Okay, and that would have put lots of farms who we depend on for food, let's not forget that, out of business, because when someone died and you pass it on, you have to pay that tax bill. And even over 10 years, you are talking about farms that could be worth 4, 5, 6, 7 million. Huge amount of money. And that money is meant to be paid for from farmers' profits, which I can tell you are operating on very tight margins. It was a ludicrous one. It was literally worrying people to death. You know, we've all had it in the papers today. We had it on air in Kevin's show about a farmer who actually committed suicide because he was in such a state about the inheritance tax, he wanted to bring forward his own death to avoid inheritance tax. I mean, does it get any worse than that? But it's all very well me talking about it, who was a here today, gone tomorrow politician, and now enjoying talking to you. Let's talk to James Wright. He's a farmer in southwest England, a cow and sheep farmer in Exmoor. James, welcome.
Brilliant, thanks for having me.
Oh, what a great shot behind you. You've even got sun there, my man. That's lovely.
I know, the sun's come out for the first time in a couple of days. It's going to be like this over Christmas as well, so brilliant for us.
Well, that is. It's good for us to see, actually. Yesterday I was talking to someone in a car. I could barely see them. Look, I'm going to kick off. You must be pleased, obviously, with the U-turn.
Yeah, look, I mean, Christmas has come early for a lot of farmers. This is a great partial U-turn. I had a message a couple of days ago from a farmer in Devon who was considering taking his own life because he couldn't foresee a way that his family could pay the family farm tax for a farm that had been in his family for generations. I've since spoken to that farmer, and he is now thinking that actually life is not as bad as he thought it was. So look, for many people, this is a respite, but there's more to do. If the average farmer, 30% of farmers work for under minimum wage. The reality is that it's not that they don't want to pay the tax, it's that many cannot afford to. So just because the farm is worth over a certain amount doesn't mean it's that profitable.
Well, can we explore that? Because I think this is really important. And there's no one in the cabinet who's ever had a business, as far as I can tell. And there's very few people in government. The fact is, you are what we would, let's call it asset rich in that sense. It sounds like you have a lot of money, but kind of explain what that money really is and where it sits, if you like, because it's not cash, is it?
No, not at all. So since the early 2000s, farmland has gone up 4 times in value, but the price of what we produce hasn't. So a ton of wheat is about the same price as what you would have got in 2004, but the land that's produced it has gone up 4 times. So basically, the asset value of our farms is hugely inflated because of speculators and developers and rewilding charities that basically have made the value go up. But because we are farmers and we want the general public to be able to have ready and available access to affordable food, the prices haven't risen with it.
Now, that left you in a very difficult position, but did it leave all farms in positions? Tell us about the size of your farm, if you like. Where are you? Small, medium, or huge?
So I'm about the average size. I've got about a 160-acre farm. We own half and we rent half. So I'm actually a tenant for half of my farm, and the value of our tenanted farm is over the threshold, which would have meant
the old threshold or the new threshold?
The old threshold slightly under the new threshold. And actually the rent that I would have paid over the next 10 to 15 years would have been less than the inheritance tax liability. The advice from any sensible accountant would have been to my landlord to sell the farm and try and put the money somewhere else. So actually this does really help me on a personal level. It means we probably won't lose half our farm, but it basically this change means now that we have some respite, that there'll be many farmers now looking at a slightly brighter Christmas, because the money in farming is simply not there to be able to pay the tax.
Can you tell us about the price that you sell, for example? There's a limited. I think one of the small silver linings about this is the public have learned a lot more about farming since this has been going on. But I mean, your principal customers, presumably, they're the supermarkets and the supermarket chains. Is that correct? And are you finding yourself squeezed on the sales price as well as the cost price?
So, I mean, I'm a beef and sheep farmer here, so we sell everything straight to the supermarkets, like most farmers do in the UK. And that means we're affected by the market price. I don't get to set how much I sell for. Basically, I call up a chap who tells me on a Monday what I'll get for my animals throughout the week, and that's the same for most farmers in the UK. What supermarkets do a brilliant job. They make sure that food is readily and affordably available to the members of the public. Everyone listening to this will have used a supermarket probably for their Christmas meal that they're going to have tomorrow, and hopefully they've bought great British food. But it is a slight skew in the power dynamic, which is why what farmers want is a long-term plan. They're able to plan for the future. They know what they're going to get from the government in terms of support for doing environmental work. They know that they're not going to be taxed on their family farms, and they know that they can make investments. Like the barns around me, the concrete that I'm sitting on is hundreds of thousands of pounds, but it's a generational investment. These barns and this concrete will last for 20 or 30 years. And that's sort of the horizon that farmers think on, because these are generational businesses that are never sold. A farmer never wants to have to sell their farm.
But just sorry, James, to cut you off there, only for time reasons. But I think one final really important question. We're all talking about inheritance tax and farms and the threat to farms. Does the next generation want to go into farming?
I'm 33. I'm a first-generation farmer. I bought 2 pigs with my student loan about 12 years ago. So I think there is a generation like me wanting to come in, not just from farming, but from outside farming as well. I've got 3 sons, and hopefully there'll be a farm each for them to take on. So I think the future is bright for farming. Plenty of people want to put in the work. Well,
it's clearly going to be a much better Christmas than it could have been. I'm absolutely delighted for you on that, but clearly there is more work to do. Paul Richards, I'm sorry. That's my fault, James. I'm already thinking ahead. James, thank you very much indeed for joining us live from sunny southwest England. Speaking of which, Paul Richards will be my next guest, Labour Special Advisor. We'll be talking Christmas messages. But before we do that, which will come after 2 o'clock, I want to go back to some of your messages, because I'm asking you, what message would you like to give Starmer? And here's one. My simple message to Starmer, says Rob, is do one, which I don't think is complimentary. And thank you. We got some voice messages. Let me just play one before the break. That's Helen.
Hi, well, here's my message to Keir Starmer. Thanks for nothing. What an absolutely dreadful speech. And Merry Christmas, even though none of us actually like you. But to everybody else, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I love talk radio. And to everybody out there, keep going.
That's how to do it. You can send a voice message just like Helen's, 0344 499 1000. I am going to bring a smile to your face despite this plethora of grim news. We even had a happy farmer. That's good news, isn't it? 0344 499 1000. More of me, Nick de Bois, sitting in for Ian Collins today here on Talk.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome. I'd like to talk to you in a little more detail about the political messages that we get from our leaders at this time at Christmas. And I'm not going to play them all, honestly. I want to keep viewers, I want to keep listeners. But I think before we have that conversation and join my next guest, Paul Richards, who's a former Labour Special Advisor, and I think I'm right in saying this was actually a candidate in the general election. Let's listen for 1 minute and 8 seconds. Come on, stay with me here, to Keir Starmer's Christmas message.
That's what Christmas is about. So whether you're at home this evening, heading to work, heading to church, or maybe heading to the pub, let's look forward and celebrate the joy and hope that Christmas brings. From my family to yours, to everyone in the United Kingdom, I hope you all have a very happy Christmas.
Well, the producers overruled me. It was going to be the full 1 minute and 8 seconds, so you've got the edited version there. They're more sensitive, I guess, to viewing and listening numbers. OK, I'm being a bit frivolous, but for me, I think it's really important that a Christmas message leaves us all a bit more hopeful. I don't think that particularly did it, but let's have a discussion about this with my next guest, Paul Richards, former Labour Special Advisor. And Paul, welcome. Happy Christmas to you. Ah, yes, you're quite right. No, we haven't got Paul at the moment, but we have got callers. Who are going to give me their opinion on messages to Keir Starmer. By the way, I just think in the messages that you're sending me on WhatsApp, they are quite hilarious, and I am going to determinedly ring out everyone. But let's first go to Grace in Ealing. Hello, Grace.
Hi, and Merry Christmas in advance to you.
And Merry Christmas to you. Happy Christmas Eve. Do you have a message to our Prime Minister?
I'm afraid I should be feeling more warm-hearted, but I can't help but being a little bit irked by his reference to charity and goodwill to all, when I'm very conscious that the outworkings of his choice to cut the international aid budget mean that some people in our world are going to be suffering all the more right now. And I completely understand that there are lots of people who think that there shouldn't be an international aid budget. But as he said, charity and goodwill to all human beings who happen to be born into severe poverty, not just relative poverty, but severe poverty, should also have basic food. And I mean, atrocity prevention is something that's been reduced in Sudan because of these aid cuts. So there's going to be real suffering because of his decision. And so as a mostly Labour voter, well, yeah, I've always voted Labour up until now, and someone who thinks about the meaning of Christmas, I'm quite frustrated with him for that, but I know that a lot of people will disagree with me.
Well, they probably will, but listen, we love lots of different opinions here, and I'm not going to be discouraged by the fact that you said that. But can I just ask you one thing? Particularly, you look at the meaning of Christmas, and for me, and I'm not a practicing Christian, but for me, I think the deep meaning is this is a time of hope, isn't it? It's a time of family. It's a type of hope. And I feel that the country has literally had about 18 months of being told how awful things are, and there have been some pretty awful things. Shouldn't we be getting a bit more from our politicians about hope, and that kind of helps us? Hope is not just something that is a vague notion. Hope brings about change. Hope implies change. Shouldn't we be talking about hope more?
Possibly. It's hard to determine who is responsible for all the negativity, because politicians might say, oh, we are doing some good things, we just don't hear about it in the media. I don't know. But you're right, it is about hope. And it's not just about goodwill and family, although those things are brilliant. It's not only about those. It is about Jesus coming and offering hope. And I know that a lot of people think it sounds completely nuts, but I came to conclude, having looked into the historical accounts, that there is reason to believe that Jesus rose from death. And that means that we have hope beyond this lifetime. Even if this life is a complete mess and everything seems dreary, Jesus is giving us hope. And I have found personally that I feel more joyful when I ruminate on that than thinking about Christmas presents, although those are great too.
But actually, curiously enough, whilst we might get there different ways, I feel better about myself when I start to think about hope, because for me, hope is actually a chance that drives change. Listen, Grace, very thought-provoking. My first call, thank you very much. Lots more coming in. You can join the conversation on 0344 499 1000 or send me a voice message. Let's go to Janice in Essex.
Oh, my goodness, Nick.
Hello.
It's been years.
It's been about 11 months.
I had you on yesterday. Oh, my God. Nick, Love you.
Oh, I thought you were
have
about to tell me to
watch you
get
on
lost.
Another programme. Mr. Bishop Stalford.
Oh, yes, well,
You
I'm
need to
here.
be on here a bit more.
Oh, well, that's very kind. I'm always happy to step in if someone is not available.
Well, I have to watch another channel to get you.
No, you don't. No. I'm a boomer
Are you
now.
here
I'm
now?
taking it easy. Janice, what would you like to say?
All right, well, you've retired now, haven't you?
Well, I'm not. All right, I'm not that old.
No, you were at that age. Oh, look, my love, I'm so pleased to talk to you. I'm over the moon. I begged them to put me on.
Well, you're on now. What would you like to say, Janice?
Well, firstly, I would have to say what an appalling bunch of Christmas stuff that those...
The leaders,
I'm not sure if I can call them
political
leaders.
leaders, shall we say?
Well, Nigel Farage came out. He's my MP. We don't see him, but he came out with something brilliant. So, first of all, got to say that he came out with hope. The word today is hope.
Yes, it is, Janice.
Whether you're a Christian or you're not.
Yep.
But the other thing I want to say is that they are doing something about the farmers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough. I think that when you're going to give another country all the money you were going to grab off the farmers, when we know farmers commit suicide more than most people, I absolutely think that it's still not enough.
It's hideous what they did, and I'm not sure they'll be forgiven.
All their contraptions, you've got their houses, you've got their land.
Well, you think about Janice, you think about the cost of a
ain't
tractor.
enough.
You think about a cost of a tractor now, £250,000, and they have to finance this. And so when they talk about rich farmers, they're not rich farmers. They've got it invested in their land, which has just gone up. They've got it invested in their tractors, their equipment. And I just think the government have literally caused, their decisions have cost lives. It's quite awful.
Could I please say one more thing?
You can, yeah.
When everybody is going out buying the 8p sprouts, go and have a look and see a farmer makes a penny on that. We need to call up the supermarkets that are absolutely get them to the fine line where they cannot survive. So I didn't buy 8p sprouts. Sorry, I'll get my words right. I'd rather buy the better ones.
Well, and buy
I
British.
think everybody that goes and buys one bag of cheap sprouts, go and look.
Janice, your message has been heard. Go and buy more expensive sprouts, but only if they're British. Janice, lovely to talk to you. I've got loads of calls lining up, so forgive me. I'm going to move on. Keep listening, Janice, and I promise I'll come back. Let's go to Nick in London. Hello, Nick.
Yes, hello, Nick. Happy Christmas to you.
And to you.
I don't mind Keir Starmer having a poor speaking voice. I've got a poor speaking voice. I don't mind his voice being dull. What I do mind is what he says is just so off the mark. Not only is it dull, but it's A, not addressing the real issues, B, not addressing the issues that he's caused, and C, platitudinous nonsense.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
It is. It's platitudinous nonsense.
And so it's meaningless.
For example, it doesn't address for the fact that, for example, abolishing jury trials. And he comes out, he's concerned about cost of living crisis, where your policies caused it, mate.
And actually, their policies could make it a lot easier, but all they do is heap tax on us, which leaves us less money to spend. And so the cost of living crisis gets worse.
Exactly so. He isn't a bank manager. You called him a bank manager earlier. Bank managers are useful.
Yes. I was rather concerned I was upsetting bank managers there, so I apologise.
He is a lawyer, and lawyers tend to, on the one hand this, on the other hand that. They come in after the event and they point out what went wrong in paradise if they were in charge. Captain Hindsight's a great nickname for him. He's not a leader. A leader makes choices. Like him or loathe him, I didn't like Blair, but at least Blair had a vision, and you could go with it or not. Thatcher as well. This bloke, no, he hasn't got a clue.
Nick, I hope during the course of this show, in fact, stay here, Nick. Right, we're going off subject. I'm going to ask you one of my Christmas cracker jokes. Why did the turkey join the band? Come on. Think about turkey.
Why did the turkey join the band?
Yes,
no idea. Go on.
Because it had the drumsticks. Ta-da! I tell you. Please do.
What do you call a donkey with 3 legs?
Oh, no.
A wonky donkey.
OK, thank you, Nick. That's even worse than mine. 0344 499 1000. Thanks to Nick for calling there. If you want me to stop doing these Christmas cracker messages, feel free to call 0344 499 1000. Just before I take a call from Georgina, just out of interest, says Reg, when did politicians actually start doing Christmas messages? The only one I was ever interested was the King or the Queen, and the rest of them just butt out and stop trying to sell their agenda wrapped up at Christmas. I'll have to find out that. Georgina in London, hello and happy Christmas Eve to you.
Happy Christmas Eve to you, Nick. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I certainly know that I am.
Ah, good. Well, I hope we're helping here at Talk.
You always do. I watched Keir Starmer give his speech. I don't know how that man has the gall and the audacity to stand there and say what he did. You know, he wished us all a Merry Christmas, and he talked about wrapping presents when we can't afford to buy gifts, as he's tacked us to oblivion. He talks about the Christmas story, or what I would call the nativity, when he's allowing Christian people who play on our streets to be arrested in case they offend or incite others. You know, and he said, oh, well, you know, you can always go for a drink. Well, hang on a minute. Him and Rachel Reeves has killed our hospitality industry, and I don't think if they wanted to go for a drink, they could go to any public house, the length or breadth of Britain, because they would not be welcome. Our elderly are sat in houses that they can't afford the heat because it's so expensive and it's so cold outside. So those poor old dears will be sat in their jumpers and underneath their blankets. You know, it's just, the man does not get it. He doesn't understand. Whilst he sat in his house, Nick, with his fabulous fire, with his family around him, with all the fabulous presents that his children are going to get, and no doubt a magnificent Christmas dinner, and everything is joyous, the rest of this country are suffering.
Georgina, I just do not interrupt you. You are a force of nature. The way you articulated that and rattled that list off, I think you probably speak for many people. I'm only going to say it again, just one more time to you. Happy Christmas, and thank you for thinking of others, Georgina. And you know those neighbours who might be cold next door, perhaps we all have got a duty. Perhaps the one thing he did say that was of use, or do check on your neighbour if they are, like Georgina said, so many will be having a hard time this Christmas. You can join the conversation, 0344 499 1000. Now, I have got time just to flick through a couple of more messages. Keep them coming in. What is your message to our Prime Minister? I wonder if our disingenuous PM is wishing a happy Christmas to the ex-servicemen he and others are dragging through the courts for doing their duty, says Clayton in Dartford. In his Xmas message video, Keir Starmer's eyelids were flapping faster than the flashing Xmas tree lights. Isn't that a sign of insincerity, says someone who didn't leave their name? Actually, I mean, he's just a bad performer. It really is as simple as that. He can't help that. Nick, a festive joke. What do you call fear of Father Christmas? Claustrophobia, says Anne in Archway. Oh, Anne, thank you for joining in the spirit of what I am trying to do here. Now, coming up, we will, even though I advertised it 10 minutes early, be talking to Paul Richards, former Labour Special Advisor, and we will be talking about a Christmas message. What makes a Christmas message, and does he agree that Keir Starmer's does not make a very good Christmas message? That and more, and your calls. What message do you want to send to Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome back. I'm Nick de Bois, sitting in for the great Ian Collins. Happy Christmas Eve to you. I am determined not to depress everyone today. We often grumble, we often moan, and it's good to have a talk and get your voice heard. But today, a little bit of realism and a little bit of, well, Christmas madness. And that's why I've been sharing with you very bad cracker jokes. So far, you haven't actually asked me to stop. So as we open the second hour, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has delivered a notably downbeat Christmas message, admitting many families are still struggling with the rising cost of living despite the holiday season, and urging people to reach out to neighbours and support each other through tough times. Newly released Jeffrey Epstein files include emails from someone identified only as the Invisible Man, believed to be Prince Andrew, asking convicted trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell if she could find him inappropriate friends while staying at Balmoral. The revelations have reignited scrutiny of his past links to Epstein, though no criminal charges have been brought. And on a lighter note from the palace, King Charles has unveiled his Christmas broadcast, reflecting on the year past and spreading festive goodwill. Maybe that's how to do it, as the nation balances the joys of the season with the very real challenges many households continue to face. And so it is. In that spirit, I'm very pleased now to welcome, as I avoided trying to welcome 10 minutes earlier when I was completely wrong to do so, former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Hello, Paul. Happy Christmas.
Hello, happy Christmas to you as well. How are you?
I'm very well. Paul, just for my benefit, because I don't think we've spoken before, am I right? I was saying I thought you were a candidate in the last election?
Yes, we have met before, and I was a candidate in the last election too, and in '97 and in 2001 as well. So I've stood for Parliament 3 times.
Oh, God, in very different circumstances. Yeah. Well, don't worry.
Very different elections. Well, every time I've stood, Nick, there's been a Labour landslide. So you read into that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. I can tell you, keep going, because I stood 5 times before I won. But there you go. Look, great to have you on. I would like, if I may, to just start talking about Christmas message from political leaders. And I know, look, I'm not saying this just because I'm a wicked old ex-Tory or former Tory MP, but I thought he got it completely wrong, the Prime Minister. Not even necessarily in some of the sentiments that he was talking about, but his tone, his negativity, and it just didn't seem to offer hope. Now, that's my opinion. Before we come to you, I thought I'd give you a little refresher of the 1 minute and 8 second version so people can understand what we're talking about.
I'd like to wish the whole country A very happy Christmas. Right now, all across the UK, people are travelling home to be with their loved ones. Children are bursting with excitement. Families are making the final preparations, wrapping presents, hanging stockings, rushing out for last-minute bits. It's a truly special time of year. And it's a time to remind ourselves what's really important. Family, friends, community. It's a time to celebrate the Christmas story and to cherish the Christian values that define it. Peace, charity, and goodwill to all. That is the promise of the season. And just as so many put their feet up, some truly special people will be pulling on their uniforms and heading out to work. Our NHS staff, emergency services, and the brave men and women of our armed forces.
Now, what we didn't hear in there, Paul, was, you know, I know there's a cost of living crisis and, you know, I'm aware of that, etc. But shouldn't a Prime Minister, who's not the head of state, and that was a very kind of head of state thing to say, should he not be saying, you've had a tough year, by the way, we've made a few cock-ups as well. OK, he's not going to say that. But next year it's going to be better. Next year we are going to make this better for you. We're going to put more money in your pockets. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. No one is writing in and saying to me on messaging or phoning up and saying, I feel more hopeful about the future. Shouldn't a Christmas message be about hope for the future?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's not a political speech, is it? It's a Christmas message. And I think you rightly pointed out the Christian basis for the festival. And he talked very much about the ethos of Christmas, which is about giving and reaching out to your neighbour and goodwill to all men. So I think it hit the right notes in terms of a Christmas message. In terms of striking the tone of, well, things are tough out there, anyone who's been to the shops, as I have in the last few days, you know, have seen the prices of things, people worrying about the bills that are going to come in January. I think if he'd sort of pretended everything is fine and everything's going to be all right, he would have struck entirely the wrong tone.
But I don't think I'm asking that, Paul.
And if he'd made a sort of, you know, here's what we're doing about, I don't know, inheritance tax or whatever the political issues of the day are, I would have been.
I'm not saying that. No, I don't think I am saying that. I think,
really do think right notes.
What I'm trying to do is almost, what's the point of a political leader giving a Christmas message, particularly the Prime Minister, who people probably will hear more than anything else, because the head of state could have said all of that. That what we want to know is, this guy is a leader. He's got the right tone. He's going to push us forward. He's going to make us, this time next year, he said, you know, our lot is going to be better. We hope that we can make your lives easier. He doesn't have to spell out policies, because I agree with you, that would just switch everyone off. But you'd like to think that the guy in charge, this is a moment for him to cheer us all up and actually say, there's hope for the future. Surely that would be, if you were advising, wouldn't you be saying, do that? Because it feels like this is, as a lot of things with Keir Starmer, I think, is a tick box exercise.
I disagree with that completely. I think he actually, it felt to me very personal. I mean, for example, I'll give you an example, Nick, the bit where he talked about loss and feeling the loss of people dear to us. It's the first anniversary on Boxing Day of him losing his own brother. And I think that section where he talks about people, you know, we miss people, particularly at Christmas, I think, who we've loved, you know, was a very personal thing. I think that struck the right note. I mean, Christmas is tough for people, both financially but also emotionally. We do feel the loss of people more keenly, I think, at Christmas, and he was reflecting some of that as well. I mean, look, without being facetious, if he just stood in front of a Christmas tree, you know, with a Father Christmas hat on and said, look, everything's fantastic, happy Christmas, you know, you'd be amongst the very first to denounce this and say, well, how out of touch, you know, how discordant with the way the British people are feeling. Oh. I think he struck the right note, which is, it is a tough Christmas.
Well, do you think it was wise?
There is, you know, cost of living crisis in our own pockets.
Do you think it was wise, though, to talk about going down to the pub, or even talk about loss, notwithstanding his loss last year, when in the last 2-3 days particularly, people have been talking about the farmers who committed suicide because of one of his policies. Do you think it's a good idea to be talking about going down the pub when actually the pubs are basically on bended knee and broken and facing great threat because of tax policies that he's introduced? Isn't it better to focus on, as I say, on talking about hope, how he hopes that we can make the future better?
Well, I think the Samaritans reporting guidelines guide us very clearly not to speculate onto why anyone would lose their life.
But I'm not asking him to do that. I said, was it wise for him to talk about the pub, or was it wise for him to talk about loss under where there are very raw circumstances, but directly linked to his policies?
And on the pubs, I mean, the pubs are packed, so I think most pubs are doing very well at the moment.
Oh,
and,
well, I think they might disagree with you, but okay.
Yeah, well, I disagree with them going around banning people whose political views they don't agree with. I mean, that's not a good way to...
Is it political views, or is it that they've got hikes of business rates that are anywhere from 15% to 50% and more in some cases, which is going to put them out of business?
I think a pub is a public space, and if you start banning people because you don't know what their views are, I think that's quite...
Pubs have been able to ban people for all sorts of reasons, but look, they are protesting. That's the only weapon they've got, Paul. They're a pub. They're about to be put out of business in many cases because of huge tax rises, which, by the way, I know your government will row back on. OK, I'll put money on that with you and we'll chat in the future. That's their only way they can protest. And it's working because people are paying attention.
It's not the only way they can protest, though, is it? Because in a democracy, there are multiple ways of doing it. And just slapping up a sign, a bit of a publicity stunt, I think.
Well, hang on. If farmers can drive tractors and protest, why can't publicans stop MPs coming in their pubs?
Well, they're entitled to, but my point is it's not a particularly a good tactic because it says to people, you know, our businesses are fine, we can turn customers away at the very time they're trying. But, you know, the bigger picture on pubs is that if people are going out and drinking less, then that will be reflected in the market. It's a market, isn't it? They're not state institutions. And if people don't want to drink in pubs as much as they did 50 years ago, there'll be fewer pubs.
Well, they would probably say, Paul, that there's going to be fewer people drinking in pubs because there's going to be fewer pubs. But let's move on to the wider political scene, if I may. And I appreciate the dialogue and the way it's a courteous debate. Keir Starmer, of course, is on the defensive. I mean, look, like you know, I've done a special advisor's job, and I would not be obsessed by the opinion polls. But I think it would be fair to say that this year has been borderline horrific for many backbenchers who will be very nervous about their relatively thin majorities when they look at the polls, see Labour bleeding to the Greens, a little bit to Reform, that we're almost in 3, if not 4-way politics now. The leader, the Prime Minister, is bound to heap the flak for that. Do you think that he will still be leader this time next year? And I know the stock answer will probably be yes, but at the very least, do you think he's going to face a challenge?
Well, the answer is yes, but I'll explain why I think that. I'll show my workings if you like. Well, one is I think that there isn't an obvious, clear other candidate. So when Blair was facing a similar situation, Gordon Brown was in the wings. It was obvious he was the next person in line. He got so many nominations, nobody else could even stand in the leadership. This time there's about, I don't know, 5 names in the hat. You and I could name, reel off probably even more people that fancy the job. So any backbenchers thinking about sort of, mounting a coup would have to say, well, be careful what you wish for, because chances are you're not actually going to get the candidate you may want. You may get something much, much worse. So that's one reason. And the second reason is it's actually hard for the Labour Party, unlike other parties, Conservatives.
Oh, you mean the Conservatives particularly?
Yes. To defenestrate a leader. And I think, our constitution is written in such a way that it's actually quite difficult to do it because it's not just MPs. Yeah. So I think, there's a sort of political reason, and there's also a mechanistic reason. I think
rather ironically, and I don't have the facts at my fingertips, so it's my fault, but I think number 10 themselves, Labour's number 10, changed the rules when they got into power. I think something like 80 or 90 MPs could actually do it. That's a lot of MPs, having said that.
It's 81 is the magic number. I think it's a percentage of the total parliament.
But why did they do that? I mean, you would have thought they would have learned from the Tories.
Well, they increased it to make it less likely because they had learned from the Tories. I think the lesson from the Conservatives is, and it's not a partisan point, that if you simply swap your leader every few months or years, it doesn't necessarily favour you at the general election. And
I can think of only once it really happened, actually. Well, possibly twice with Boris Johnson, but you're quite right.
In the 50s, again, the Tories did the similar thing in the 50s, and in '64 lost. So, it doesn't always work. And I think Labour sort of has come in on a mission of stability too, to sort of just say, well, if you don't like this guy, here's another one. I think the public don't like that. I don't think they like the idea.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Without having them stay, and because it's a non-presidential system, of course, the public don't get a vote on it. It's the MPs and the party who decides.
But look, you've been amongst MPs. I was one for 5 years. It's very feral. You are always looking over your shoulder. And look, no one will really admit this who is an MP in those circumstances. But you look at your seat, you do the numbers and the calculations, and you think, that fella Wes Streeting, he might get me elected. I can tell you, because I worked on Dominic Raab's leadership campaign when Boris Johnson got elected. When Theresa May lost the local elections in May, all our support disappeared, and it went to the one person they thought, every poll told them, could win the election. It was Boris Johnson, and they were right. That's going to happen. MPs are human, regardless of what political colour they are, aren't they?
I remember Tony Blair saying once that there is nothing ignoble about wanting to be Prime Minister. Okay, so of course there's going to be plots and schemes and cabals and friendship groups and, factions and all the rest of it within politics. And candidates will sort of come out of woodwork as potential replacements. But in Labour's case, we're blessed with the riches of multiple names in the hat of who could do it. And new names keep popping up too. I mean, nobody really, I don't think, had heard of Shabana Mahmood before a few months ago. Al Cairns is another name. People haven't heard of him now.
No, I agree with you. I was very surprised when I read that.
Yeah, me too. So, there isn't an obvious successor like there was with Brown and Blair. And I think, yes, MPs are in a state of feral, perhaps not quite the right word, but there is a lot of disquiet. My message to them, though, is that, if you behave in a way that suggests you don't think you're going to keep your seats, then it does tend to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Indeed.
And the MPs that can, knuckle down, maybe get some extra funding from government, win arguments behind the scenes, things on the inheritance tax is a good example of Labour lobbying behind the scenes, Labour MPs lobbying behind the scenes, rather than chaining themselves to railings.
Look, I'm just going to say this to you, because not to provoke a discussion, but keep an eye on time. I am not surprised you are saying that there were Labour MPs, and they persuaded the government, etc., etc. I'm not convinced, but what I think sticks a little bit in the throat of people is where MPs who did not vote against it, right, are now putting out social media tweets saying, do you know, I never really supported this policy of Rachel Reeves, and I've worked really hard to change it. Even if it's true, it's unconvincing, isn't it?
Well, we do have parliamentary discipline, don't we? And, the whipping system...
Well, not really, because you do have rebellions, to be fair. And that's why I'm saying, why didn't they rebel? You had threatened rebellions over the benefits, for example.
Yeah, well, and then those MPs that did that got kicked out, so they're not at the table. I mean, the argument is you're either you're inside the tent, making your case, sticking as part of a team, which the public tends to enjoy and like, having a sort of unified government, and trying to win the arguments behind the scenes, or you throw your toys out of the pram, you leave the party, you make a name for yourself, but have zero influence. So there's plenty of people in Parliament.
No, it was a very fine balance. I was an occasional rebel, and I managed to maintain influence to a degree without annoying everyone.
So exactly, you need to have conversations. Is how politics works, not necessarily conflicts and social media.
Speaking of conversations, I've got one more question from you, but the feedback I've had from Joanna. Paul Richards doesn't understand. Banning Labour politicians, this is about pubs, obviously, is a good idea. Perhaps someone like Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, arriving at a pub could clear a pub or cause angry, loud comments from lubricated people. OK, I think there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there, but I think the general public think there's very little direct sort of harmless action you can take. And I think that's the point that's being made, to register your disapproval of something. So I just thought I'd send that back with you. I think we covered that in great detail and so forth. Can I ask you, looking ahead for 2026, are you going to be brave enough to make any predictions?
Well, I can certainly predict that it'll be very rocky for Labour in the elections in Wales and in the rest of the UK, where the elections are taking place, because it is what the Americans would call a midterm election, where people will give a kicking to the government, and Labour is in government, so it's going to be Labour candidates who are facing a real struggle in those. So that's a prediction we can make. I don't think we will see a sort of coup, a leadership, a change of a leader at the top of the Labour Party. I think that's less likely. That's maybe
okay.
a prediction.
Let me
maybe in 12 months you'll have me back and I'll be wrong.
Oh,
but,
definitely. I'll probably be back at Christmas with any luck. Just one final quick answer. Do you think Reform will go down and the Conservatives will gain more? She's having a little bit of a good run at the moment, Kemi Badenoch.
Kemi's message at the end of the year, I think, was at a good time for her. She has had a good end of the year. The last 3 months in particular, PMQs and so on, she's doing slightly better than before. I think maybe the reform bubble will burst a bit. Maybe we're at peak reform now. Certainly in places like Kent, where they're really messing up local government, people are going to be looking twice.
Well, you're a brave man to make a prediction. I gave up doing that years ago, normally when I said I'd win a seat, and it didn't quite turn out like that. So, Paul Richards, happy Christmas to you. Thank you very much. Very engaging chat with former Labour Special Advisor there. You want to share your views? 0344 499 1000. I'm loving your opinion and your messages to Keir Starmer. He's given you his message. Why don't you give him your message? And we'll be doing that after this with calls from you and messages. You can join that conversation on 0344 499 1000.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. I promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile. and on your side. This is Talk.
And Gary says to me, Nick, the worst thing Starmer could do is resign. Wait for it, because heaven knows what would follow. If he is not going to call a general election, then he should tough it out for the full 5 years. He may be useless, but there is far worse lurking on the hard left wing of the Labour Party, waiting to seize control of this country. Nick, Starmer's Labour Party will never beat Nigel Farage in any future elections. Farage is the people's choice. Reform will win big in May. From John in Wallington. Dear Keir, thank you for your Christmas message. Please allow me to wish you two a happy festive season, enjoying your favourite film, Rachel and the 40 Thieves. I hope you get lots of presents from Uncle Ali. I'm sure a new suit and glasses were on your list. You will be pleased to hear we have not put decorations up and instead left up our pride flags, Eid banners and so-called Palestinian flags. We do hope this is acceptable. All our wrapping paper is recycled and our ovens lit by candle, as we don't know what fuel to use. We couldn't go away this year, too many potholes, and the car doesn't go far on an electric battery. Hopefully in the new year I'll be able to see a doctor, as I've been waiting for 2 years. Angie says Happy Christmas. Wow. A lot of thought going into these, and I think we've got callers on the same subject. So let's go to first Mark in Lincolnshire. Mark, hello.
Hi there, Nick. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you. And your message is?
My message, it was actually, I was listening to when you were chatting with Grace, who called in earlier.
Oh, yes, yes.
She was talking about foreign aid and stuff.
Yes, she did.
And it was also kind of, because my opinion, I'm not conflicted on this. I think there's a lot of Christians seem to get some of the messaging wrong. I think, anyway, from my point of view. I am a Christian as well, by the way. Very much practicing. So this whole notion of helping everybody. Okay, well, there are things within the Bible that Jesus said that kind of conflict against that anyway. And I'm just going to give you, it's a really short verse from the Bible, just for Grace's benefit, if anything else, that she can go and have a look at. But it also applies to Keir Starmer as well. And what it is, it's Timothy 5:8, and it's, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Now, I think what this is talking about is that if you've got people suffering within your own community,
look after your own community?
Yes, basically. Look after your own community. And then you go ahead and help other people, if that makes sense. So that's certainly how I view it.
It's a very interesting perspective, because in a way, you know, the suggestion, and I don't think Grace was saying this, but so many people will have heard, if you're Christian, we should spend money supporting people in other countries. I mean, that might be Grace's belief and interpretation, perfectly legitimate. There's also a political case for international aid, by the way, but we won't go into that now. But I do agree. I think you're really saying is, we're turning to the state immediately to do things. What about what we do ourselves? How do we look after our own communities as well? And that's very Christian.
Absolutely. I think this is where the priority really should be. Because if you've got people suffering that you're aware of that are suffering, then you should be trying to do something that you can do to help them. And working together as a community, certainly as Christians anyway. So I think that's certainly the message that I would have for it anyway.
Okay.
I think if you're in a situation where everything's tickety-boo and everything's absolutely fantastic, then yes, by all means, go ahead and help people around the world and do whatever you want to do. But there are so many suffering in this country.
Mark, thank you for very eloquently putting a contra point of view, but basically on the same theme. And I do appreciate that, very much appreciate it. If you agree with Mark or you'd like to take issue, 0344 499 1000. But also he had a message to Keir Starmer in that as well, based on a verse from the Bible. Martin in North Wales. Hello, Martin.
Hello, hi.
Llandudno, yes?
Llandudno, indeed, where the sun is shining. My call is regarding an aspect of the news regarding the farming taxation issue.
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware, but the police are obviously under Operation Olympias, are currently seeking advice from the CPS about when to bring corporate manslaughter charges and gross negligence manslaughter charges against potentially the post office in regards to the 13 suicides that have been confirmed.
That took place. Interesting, yes.
Now, we've now had confirmed suicides by farmers who've been driven to that through the tax policy relating to the inheritance tax. And I wonder, is there going to be because if this was a private company or a non-state company that had driven people to suicide, the police would be all over it, surely.
Very interesting argument, but I have a feeling, I'm going to have to check this out, but I have a feeling that government, there might be an expert out there, that government is immune to a prosecution for a consequence of a policy in the terms that you've outlined. This is a really, I never expected this, because you raise actually a moral question, a legitimate question, and I certainly can't give you the answer, but I will do my very best to see if I'm right that there is a protection for government. Someone might be able to elucidate that for us. Perfectly legitimate point to make, Martin, and thank you for that, and I'd be very interested in any other views on that. I can't give an answer, but unlike perhaps when I was a politician, if I don't know the answer, I'm definitely not going to waffle. Martin, thank you. Very thoughtful call that came in here. One quick, well, it's not a quick message, but I'll read one more message before we go to the break. Talk. Afternoon, Nick. My Christmas is complete. I am surrounded with 25 sachets in 5 flavours of Purse and Duffy's Heavenly Blancmange. My God, does it still exist? Which was always so popular at Christmas and which all supermarkets have seen fit to stop stocking. After scourging the internet, it arrived this morning. My grandkids will be so happy as they love it, especially the chocolate flavour. Was it Angel Delight? Older people behind the desk, is there any? Well, there's only Phil. Angel Delight, I'm sure that was it. Tell me if I'm wrong. That was a blancmange thing. Why on earth did supermarkets decide in their wisdom to kill it off? You can tell I don't read these messages in advance, can't you? Right, one quick more cracker joke for you. I've still not got one message telling me not to read them. What do elves learn at school? Ta-da! The alphabet. Come on, you got that, surely. I've got so many to get through, and we're going to do that with you. Your message, Keir Starmer, keep them coming. 0344 499 1000, or you can send a WhatsApp message or a short voice note. I love the voice notes. I've still got a couple to get through. Do let me have those, and keep them under to a minute. Your message can be brief, but if possible, make sure that it is suitable for broadcast. 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome Welcome back. I'm just going to quickly touch on the call from Martin there, because I've very, very briefly done some top-line research, so it won't be that thorough. But as I thought, most governments have sovereign immunity, which means basically they're, generally speaking, protected from lawsuits in their own courts unless they're content to be sued. So that's kind of a civil point about it. The immunity does apply to acts that are done as part of official policy or governments. In criminal prosecutions, governments themselves aren't prosecuted like a person. So officials who are part of the government might avoid personal liability for a policy decision, but extreme violations like corruption or gross human rights abuses, well, they can still lead to legal consequences, again, depending on jurisdiction. It's generally officials and policy decisions. There's a kind of rule that they will have immunity or qualified immunity, but it doesn't mean every action is protected. Now, that is a kind of politician's answer, but you get the gist. And Martin, I think you might see where the likely answer lies in that. Great question to ask. Thank you for that. Right, complete change now. Newly released documents from those Epstein files have revealed an email signed A, reportedly sent from Balmoral, the Queen's, at the time, the Queen's Scottish home, in 2001, asking Maxwell if she had, quote, found me some new inappropriate friends. A message now linked by multiple outlets to former royal, as he once was, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew. No misconduct has been proven. He's facing a bit of an isolated Christmas. Speaking of the man himself at his royal lodge, the one he's about to give up, doesn't seem like the family are going to be around him for various reasons. Meanwhile, the rest of the royal family cracking on. The King will be delivering his Christmas Day broadcast, which he did from Westminster Abbey. In fact, I think he's made a habit of not doing them from Buckingham Palace. And in 2025 speech, we are likely, I am told, hear about personal reflections, pilgrimage, and of course, it comes out at 3 p.m. on Christmas Day. Stand when you are listening, is the High Command. But someone who knows a lot more about the royals, but I challenge him on his loyalty and support for the royal family. There is none greater than mine, is Charles Ray, former royal editor for The Sun and currently royal commentator and author. Welcome.
Merry Christmas, Nick, to you and your listeners.
Thank you very much indeed. And to you, Charles. It's easy to just say I'm getting weary of the Epstein files and everything, but we must never forget there are victims at the end of this, and they probably are very keen to see all of this out. We do seem to be focusing very much on Prince Andrew. And I suppose these latest revelations justify that, don't they? These are really pretty shocking, aren't they?
Every time these documents are released, I mean, people talk about, you know, the redacted ones, we don't know what's in them and everything else, but of the ones that we know where there's information, they are pretty devastating, particularly to the man who was formerly Prince Andrew. And we now have these emails, which, you know, he has an email. He had an email address called The Invisible Man, which he clearly sent to Ghislaine Maxwell and signed it with an A, asking for her to find some inappropriate friends. That probably was a joke, but in the current climate that he was in, doesn't sound the best of things to have said. But more importantly, what has been revealed just lately is the fact that the FBI, the NYPD, and the New York District Attorney wanted to interview Andrew for his links to not only Jeffrey Epstein, but another convicted paedophile, a man called Peter Nygaard, who was a Canadian fashion designer who's now currently in the pokey for 11 years and is still going to face other charges for trafficking minors, young girls, minors. So all this is just extra pressure on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who seems to be trying to shake it all off by just literally doing the ostrich trick and sticking his head in the sand.
Well, of course, he does continue to deny any wrongdoing whatsoever, we should add. One thing I I must confess, I'm not all over this, but one thing I do remember is there was a time, there was a lot of speculation that, and there were demands from America, I think, that he actually came out to answer questions. Would they have known, the FBI or whoever was investigating this, and would they have had all these documents at the time they were trying to get him over for interview?
Yes, they had certainly got enough information, links with Epstein and Nygaard, that they wanted him to sit down with them and ask, and wanted to interview him as a witness or as a participant in certain events of relevance. As you quite rightly say, these are allegations which he forcefully denies. But he instead of sitting down with them, or even though he said at one time, and he said it in the Emily Maitlis interview, that he would sit down with inquiries, people who were asking questions, and all he did was produce a statement, a written statement, which clearly he denied all knowledge of everything.
We're at Christmas, very nearly, Christmas tomorrow. For many people, it's family, it's togetherness, and all of that. Is it right that Andrew and Fergie are basically going nowhere near the rest of the formal family? I mean, they've been cut off, haven't they? No one wants them. Is that right in any family?
Well, in my view, it is, because of the seriousness of these allegations. And again, we repeat, he's denying it and everything else. But there were certain links between Andrew and certainly Epstein. There's no doubt about that, and as well as the former Duchess of York and Epstein. Now, he's lost everything. He's lost all his titles. He's lost his royal birthright, if you like. He's lost... he was at one time only allowed to turn up at family events. Now, even members of his own family don't want him there. So therefore, it is going to be, you know, a lonely Christmas for him. His daughter, Eugenie, so his daughter, Beatrice, is on the ski slope, so she won't be there. She's not going to be...
But do you get a sense, though, that that's really the only thing she could do is actually go to neither? It's just she may instinctively want to sort of empathise with her father, you know... you can understand that, but actually then going to the royal family is almost like two fingers up to your father, which she's obviously prepared not to do.
I agree, but they were quite happy to put two fingers up to their father, both of them, when they turned up at the family lunch at Buckingham Palace. I'm not criticising them for that.
Sure.
They were invited and they went. But yes, they are in a dilemma, both of them. You know, the King's asked you to come along to spend Christmas with him and the rest of the family. Or do you go and spend Christmas with your mum and dad, who unfortunately are involved in all these shenanigans that are going on? So I think she's done the right thing in, you know, going off and heading down the slopes.
I kind of agree with you on that. The King, he's pretty much done everything that he can to, if you like, have his disapproval of his brother. I mean, as far as I can tell, there's not a lot else he can do. But, you know, he's getting pressed to take more action. Is there anything he can do? And bear in mind, this is his brother. Will that be holding him back if there is anything else he can do?
Well, there is nothing else he can do. He has not got any power to force Andrew into a court to face questions from either prosecutors in this country or prosecutors in America. So he can't do anything else apart from what he's done. You see, the question I've always wanted to know the answer to is that when this first came out and Andrew was invited into a room somewhere where the Queen was sitting and Charles was sitting and probably William was sitting, and they asked him, are any of these allegations true? What did he say to them? You know, that is the, you know, the...
And of course, if he lied to them, that would also... hang heavy, yes.
And if he told them that, if he said that he was guilty of these allegations, then they are complicit in the in trying to hide the crime, if you like, and paying out the £12 million that was paid. So one has to assume that he's denied it and everything else to the family as well.
Just a quick word on what can we expect on a positive note here, Charles.
Positive note.
What can we expect from the King?
I doubt very much if he will actually mention in the speech, you know, his cancer scenario, which he did the other day, you know, and his, you know, you had 100,000 people as a result contact Cancer UK, you know, to get checked and everything, which was a great PR job by him. we're going to have a speech which is going to talk about pilgrimage and faith. Why would you expect anything other from the King and the leader of the Church of England? And also, I think he'll reflect back on the veterans' tributes that we've had throughout the year, ending wars and so forth. So I think it will be quite a positive speech. It's going to be taking place at Westminster Abbey. Only the second time he's in his 4 years as king that he's not done it at Buckingham Palace. So he's spreading himself around. And
I think that's quite a good thing, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And from the pictures we saw this morning, he's looking in fine fettle. You would not say this is a man who's still battling cancer.
Yeah, no, that is something that I hope we can all get behind and wish him the very best for that. Charles, lovely of you to join us. Have a very happy Christmas. Will you be standing when the King speaks? I mean, that's what I hope. Yeah, you see, Charles will be. That's very, very important. He should be. I tried it in my house once and had a mince pie thrown at me, but they're treacherous. I will have them sent to the Tower with the blessing of the King. Here you are, just before we go to the break. Come on, see if you can match my Christmas cracker jokes here. I'm kind of right. Why is Santa so good at karate? This is really an easy one, everyone. Why is Santa so good at karate? Ding, ding. Because he has a black belt. OK. Absolute silence. I'm afraid the production team are leaving. Don't you leave. Your calls, your messages coming up now. 0344 499 1000. What is your message to Keir Starmer? You've had to listen to his. Now, I suspect he's hanging on our every word here, but get it off your chest. What is your message to him? You can do that either with a voice message or call me on 0344 499 1000.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, and hello, Penny from Essex. Nick, great to see you. Peter Blexley is absolutely brilliant. For the police to not charge Bob Villan is disgraceful. He incited violence, in fact death against Israel, which has also caused the ghastly attacks and murders against the Jews. People locked up for tweets, Joe Brand saying Nigel Farage should have battery acid thrown over him, and nothing done. What is happening, Nick, in this once proud country, says Penny from Essex. My message to Kemi Badenoch, sorry, I must get it right. There's no bad in Badenoch. Is this: you're doing a good job, even if your post-budget recriminations of Labour was an open goal caused by the OBR's leaks. As for the rest of your party, I won't forget, nor will the rest of us forget, just how bad was the party's tenure. It started so well for the Conservatives there. My message for Starmer comes straight from Gollum from Lords of the Rings. Leave and never come back. Merry Christmas, says James. I'm going to get through all of those, but now we're going to go to Michael in Birmingham. Hello, Michael.
Hi, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. You have the chance to... Do you want to give a message to Starmer?
Yeah, my message to Starmer is I reject his message. I don't believe in being a hypocrite. Let's not pretend this country is united. This country's more divided than ever. People like Starmer and his voters, they despise people like me. They frankly, I think they want to see me dead. I'm not saying they kill me, but they want me to die off as an old gammon Brexit reform voting boomer. So I don't wish them a happy Christmas at all. I wish them the most miserable Christmas they can possibly have. And I make no apology for that, because I don't want to be a hypocrite about it. And I'm a Christian too, so you know that goes against goodwill to all men and people and whatever, but there comes a point where you just say, if you don't mean it, don't say it. I don't want Starmer's wishes. He spent 2 years calling me a fascist, so he can shove them where the sun don't shine. I don't believe him anyway.
Do you think there's any point to these Christmas messages from leaders, Michael?
No, it doesn't change my life in the slightest. It's just hollow, insincere, probably box-ticking, something they've got to do on their...
I think he was very box-ticking. I think he literally... Someone said, well, you've got to say this, you've got to say this. Oh, and can we see your personality? Well, that crashed, didn't it?
Yeah, and can I give you a prediction about the King's speech?
Yes.
Title of the film. King's speech.
Yes.
First film and most faces... the first face and most faces you will see will be ethnic minorities.
Well, you know, the King has... Speaking of not being hypocritical... The King has always been consistent about that. It would be rather strange if he didn't. Now, you might not like it. That's free speech. But he has always been consistent on it, hasn't he, in how he believes in the whole idea of social cohesion. He does believe immigration is working very well. We have our right to disagree with him, and you will have heard a lot of that. So I suspect it will. And in a way, I applaud his honesty.
Well, I absolutely don't. It's something that he doesn't forget.
But you agree he's got the right to do it, don't you, Michael?
Not particularly. I believe he's here to represent people in his country, which I don't think anybody does.
Well, that's the job of politicians. That's the job of politicians. They are elected to represent us. He speaks as the head of state. And you're absolutely right. He should be sensitive to public opinion and so forth. But he, of all people, will be, you know, in some ways, you could argue, I wish politicians had consistent views, wouldn't you? I mean, look at Starmer. He's all over the place.
Look, I'm not even interested in Starmer. I just despise the man. I've got no time for his voters. I'm not friends with any, and I wouldn't want to be friends with any. But what I will say is, you had a panellist on before, a contributor before, the Labour person.
The Labour advisor, yeah, whose name, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten the top of my head. Yeah.
Don't ban people from pubs, where are we going, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
If you're a reform voter, go into your local authority, go into your civil service post and say you're a reform voter, and watch how quickly you're cancelled.
Listen, I think reform voters have been singled out, and attempts to literally shut them down and make presumptions about them. What Starmer, and to a degree Badenoch as well, they have totally misunderstood, I think, the very relatively wide different opinions of people that reform are attracting. And by the way, they're not all old boomers like myself. There's an awful lot of young people in there, as you probably know as well. Are you a reform man? Are you prepared? You don't have to tell me, but do you put your faith in reform? Oh, I think we've lost Michael there. Okay, let's go to David in London.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
What I want to say to government.
Yes, your message to Starmer, government, whoever you wish.
What I want to ask him is how will cities function without cars? Most people want and need to travel by car, but all they are giving us is severe and punishing anti-car policy.
Here. Well said.
And Nick, traffic is going to get a lot worse because from January, Sadiq Khan is removing the exemption for electric cars.
I know.
So the congestion charge is going to be empty, but the surrounding roads are going to be even more packed with cars.
Yeah, and do you know, I'm actually, I drive an electric car, which I know is not universally popular. I always knew they were going to do it because you just do the maths. They want you to first have one, give you all these. This is free, you don't get charged, and then they come after you for the money. Let me tell you, something that is going on relatively quietly, and people are going to only notice it when it's very hard to get anywhere. You are spot on about the war on motorists. But if you, for example, there's a new gym leisure centre that's been built not far from me. It's out of town, right, on the edge of the town. It's popular, people want to go there. The car park is inadequate, really inadequate. And they will tell you that's because whilst the council are prepared to approve a big new development, bring jobs in and everything, they have an anti-car policy. They basically think everyone should be getting to this place by bus. No one should be really running cars around. And you suddenly find you've got a congestion problem because they're all parking on the road because the only way to get there is pretty much by road. It happens when they approve planning permissions. They actually make the assumption, oh, you don't need as much space because people should be taking public transport. It's absolutely bonkers, this war on cars.
And Nick, even if you can get a car, it's utter misery because of the severe changes that the previous government and the current government have made in the last 5 years, and Sadiq Khan, of course.
Yeah.
It's criminal. It's criminal what they've done.
Please don't let us start on Sadiq Khan. I could do a whole programme, and I'm not back after today, and I would love to do a whole programme on Sadiq Khan. Listen, David, thank you very much. You have to live with the consequences of Sadiq Khan. We've just got time to go to Kevin in Leicestershire. Hello, Kevin.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, happy Christmas to you. What would you like to say? Have you got a message for the government and Starmer?
Merry Christmas to you as well, by the way.
Thank you.
A message to the government. I think thanks very much for that message. I think you've done such a good job this year. It would be really good if you had a rest and then get somebody else to go. So, you've worked that hard.
Oh.
Trim the foundation.
Oh, don't. Stop it.
He's terrible, isn't he? That speech was awful. I also wanted to mention about the farmers.
Yes.
It's one of the saddest stories this year, that. It's disgusting. And I know they have changed their policy on it. But I've worked on a farm before. I'm an HGV driver now, and I am at work today. And the story, it's heartbreaking to know that several people have lost their lives. I don't want to put a misery on everyone,
It is.
Be happy, try and be happy for what you've got, because you never know what we're going to get next year.
Wise words, Kevin.
I just feel, don't you? And I'm sure, I know you're empathetic. You're an ex-MP. You understand the works of it, and I know decisions aren't easy. But the writing was on the wall with that one. When he was, Nick, did you see it last week when he was questioned about?
Yes, that was horrible. You're talking about when he was questioned in the Parliamentary Liaison Committee, who grill the Prime Minister once a year, and one of his own MPs took to him and said, "Do you know people are killing themselves because of your policy?" And his face, he was white. He couldn't stand the challenge. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the moment he decided to change it. Listen, Kevin, for time reasons only, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to thank all our callers so far. You've been fantastic. Just want to get through a couple of more messages to you because I've got so many and it's only fair to you. Hi, Nick. Starmer has to go before he causes even more damage. Imagine if he goes full term. all politicians should serve 2 terms, 1 in office and 1 in prison. And the only time you know a politician is telling the truth is when he says another politician is lying. That's not very Christmassy, is it, eh, Penny? Quite amusing. And my Christmas message to Starmer is stop spending our hard-earned money on things we don't want you to spend it on. It's our money, not yours. You haven't earned any of it, and just squander it, says Ernie. Absolutely right. Now, we're going to be talking about lots of things, including a few words of advice from me. And then, we're going to be discussing, are we going to have a white Christmas? Here's a clue. Spoiler alert, we're definitely not going to have a white Christmas. I don't think we're going to have a white Christmas anywhere. But is it all down to climate change? Really?
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome back. We're going to get into some more stuff, particularly whether the lack of white Christmas is all down to the global climate crisis. I'm sure you've got a view on that. In fact, white Christmas, it's a bit of a hazard for some. I love it. I must admit, I'm a bit of an old softy and traditionalist when it comes to that. I do just spend a couple of minutes, though, because we've been talking about messages and the political messages that we've been getting from political leaders, and obviously we're focusing on the Prime Minister's, not least because, well, he is the Prime Minister, so that's totally understandable, isn't it? But to me, the point that they all seem to be missing... Let's talk about what you want. Is that politicians effectively want to win votes, and you generally win votes by actually giving people hope, whether it's hope for change and that change will actually drive some positive benefits and change your life for the better. And let's be honest, politics at the moment is really, really bruising, isn't it? I mean, that's the reality. Trust is virtually non-existent. Debate is sharp, caustic, invariably very heated. And many people, and in part, this is the reason, many people feel real change is beyond reach. And I get that, because you voted for change in virtually every election, and many people don't feel we've had change. But history tells us something I think quite important. Even in the most difficult times, one force constantly shapes the future. And the force that I'm talking about is the force of hope. Churchill inspired people and gave them hope. It's one of the fundamental things. And it's not, if you like, when I listened to the Prime Minister's message, nothing in it gave me hope. I thought it was bland trash delivered in a really downbeat method. And do you know what? Probably the other political leaders would have been the same. But also, I think the thing about hope is that it can be easily dismissed as naive. And someone could legitimately say to me, you're 67 years old, you've been a politician, you've been through many elections. Hope, it's rubbish, isn't it? You know, you're just being naive. Actually, I passionately believe that it's the exact opposite to naive. Hope is the belief that systems can be changed, the very things that we rail against. And that actually, the refusal, if you like, to accept that they cannot be changed, that refusal, you know, is just absolutely unacceptable. It is surrender. And hope is the belief that systems can be changed. And do you know what? That turns into a quiet, determined, and importantly, when you share that hope, you start to see real change happen. If you like, look at reform. Did anyone seriously believe that they could be a force for change? Well, they haven't actually delivered anything yet, but my point is, did anyone believe that they could, by that sense of change, a brand new party? Well, they're on their way. We don't know if they're going to get there, but that was fueled by hope. Hope is not, and this is my key point, hope is not the last resort of millions of disappointed citizens. It's actually the engine of change. So when things look at their worst, to have hope is not to escape the reality of what we're all going through or deny how hard things they are. It's actually to help bring about that change. Now, I know I've gone a bit serious here, but it's kind of been what's been behind me. It's why I got into politics, because I wanted to bring change all those years ago. Hey, did I succeed? Probably not. But that hope is a huge catalyst for driving the change. So don't lose that, because on this station we vent frustration, we talk about anger, and I think this is really important because, let's be honest, that just talking and sharing your frustrations and concerns can be a great thing, and you do that brilliantly here on Talk. It's a really important thing. But never lose hope. Hope drives the change that I think we want. That is Nick de Bois' Christmas message. I like to think that had a little bit, teeny weeny bit more value than necessarily what the Prime Minister shared with you. And if you want to share with me your thoughts and even tell me if I'm speaking rubbish, 0344 499 1000 is the number, or a voice message like we have here from D.
My message to Prime Minister Starmer is: walk 1 mile in our shoes, live 1 minute in our streets, take the abuse daily as a white working class male that we have to endure, whilst you quietly and openly give away our country, our inheritance, our energy, our fish, our farms, whatever it takes. You and those elites with your dishonesty and your dirty little parties are destroying what I used to call my home. You are a disgrace and a traitor, and we are more than disappointed in voting for Labour. It will be the last time ever.
Sounds like that wasn't my phone, by the way. That was Dee's phone who sent that message, obviously very frustrated. What it's talking about. Now let's harness and have hope that we can bring about change. Darren in Ayrshire, here's my message to the PM. When will the migrant crisis back? And one little self-indulgence. Great to see you back, Nick. Come on, talkTV. Give him a regular show, you lot. An absolute gentleman. calm delivery and gets the audience involved. Well, Barry, thank you very much for that message. But I chose to wind down a little bit of what I'm doing. But I'm thrilled to be back, and doing this cover is great. And honestly, if you heard more of me, you'd be bored to tears. Probably like our next guest will be. I'm very pleased to welcome to discuss White Christmas, the very own Jim Dale. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Nick. Nice to see you again.
Well, I'm sure everyone knows who you are, so I'm going to just remind them. Senior meteorologist at the British Weather Services and co-author of Surviving Extreme Weather. Welcome.
That's correct.
Welcome, and happy Christmas to you.
Yeah, same to you.
Just want to comment on your T-shirt, because I've got a feeling or your shirt, that people might be looking at this band of colour across the top of it, which implies you've won lots of medals here. It looks to me like you've been serving in the army for about 20 years.
Well, it was the Navy, but I didn't get any medals for it, even though I did the Falklands just a week or two after it had all finished. South Georgia as well. I was there for 6 months totally. I travelled the world, to be frank with you, but no, I don't collect the medals. I'm not that kind of person who will stand there with a row of medals, even if I had them, to be frank.
Well, I think people should be proud of their medals if they've got them, but yeah, everyone's entitled. Okay. Everyone's entitled to their own views. Now, look, Jim, very quick answer. Any White Christmas in the United Kingdom at all?
Well, you said United Kingdom. That's extremely unlikely. Yeah, you're showing pictures of the past. I know you've got some snowflakes falling in the studio there. Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. Look, what we've got today is what we'll have tomorrow, even with a bit more wind around. So you can feel how cold that wind is. It's off the continent. And whilst I mentioned the continent, parts of the continent have their Christmas Day today, of course, Scandinavia particularly, and down near the Alps. And it has snowed in Zurich, it has snowed in Vienna, so they are officially White Christmases there. Everywhere else is on hold. I've just checked on Oslo and Stockholm and Copenhagen, nothing doing, and I don't think there'll be anything doing. And the same in the United Kingdom. I think we're going to have to wait until maybe a week or so, or at least a few days into the new year, and then we might start to see a little bit of the stuff that you were talking about.
Honestly, Jim, listen, you guys, you think you can predict the future for years and everything, and now you just can't organise a White Christmas, man. What's going on?
Well, they're very rare events, to be honest with you. When I say rare, it depends what you're looking at. If you're looking like a blanket of snow, 2010 was the last widespread snow on the ground.
Do you mean at Christmas or just the last widespread?
On Christmas Day. On
Christmas Day,
yeah. 2010. I remember it well. The rest of the time, occasionally here or there, you do get an odd flake, an odd bit of sleet that does actually count as far as the bookies are concerned. And by the way, on the day, I am adjudicating for one of the major bookmakers as to what happens, where it happens, etc., including Europe, including the United States. By the way, the United States...
Can you give us a tip? Well, I've still got time to get a bet.
It's too late. They pull it... Look, they're not stupid. They're far from stupid. That's why they're rich. You know how it works. You know, you put your money on, you lose it. And that's the way it is. But look, United States, completely the reverse. An absolute Bunsen burner there. Heat wave... And I say heat wave, we're going to see 27, 28 degrees in Houston, Kansas City, Missouri, where there will be an NFL match. That's going to be around 2021, should be around 5 or 6. Incredible.
So, Jim, if it's such a rarity, have you any idea where this wonderful concept of White Christmas came from? Because I must admit, I don't remember many.
No, you won't, because you're going to go down... Well, I say you won't. There was a few around in the 1960s. There was.
Yeah, I was only 3.
Yeah. Well, okay, similar. In terms of... I remember being dragged on in the late 60s by the teachers when, just before Christmas, when we got a lot of snow in the north, etc. I'm from the north, you can tell that. And in the 60s, there was a lot more around. But look, the reason for the snow fantasy... I'm going to blame Charles Dickens, because you've got to go back to that era, and it was the end of the Little Ice Age, where it did snow, frost fairs on the River Thames. You won't remember it, Nick, neither will I, but they did exist, and lots of poems and stories were written. And then obviously Christmas cards came into being, and a lot of them were full of snow and ice and all of that sort of stuff. And we've kept with that tradition in the hope, because away from the adult world here. It's a magical thing, particularly for the children.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. And look, I'm not going to mince my words. That is being taken away from us to a large degree by climate change. They're becoming less and less obvious as time goes on. And we sit here now in a year that looks like it will be the warmest year on record.
Well, so I'm reading forecasters say 2025 more likely than not to be the UK's hottest year on record. So, Jim, do something that no politician does now is make a forecast. Will we ever see a white Christmas again in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, and the reason I say that is, you can take them away and say that they're going to be a rarity, but we only need what's going to happen as we move into 2026 in that first week, a northerly airstream, a northeasterly airstream actually coming out of Scandinavia. That can happen any time in winter. So the fact we've moved 1.5 degrees C since the Industrial Revolution, which is big in itself, doesn't mean that that's big enough to take away our winter and occasionally to get to a point where we do see snow. And it's far more likely to be in January and February than it is in November and December. And that's the truth of it, although we did have one good go in November, late November.
So I suppose, forgive me if this is a stupid question, but, that wouldn't surprise me.
I'm used to it, don't worry. Not from you, Nick, not from others. Go on.
So I suppose what I should say is, why does it matter if this year is the hottest on record when, of course, next year, who knows, we might have a cooler one? Or has it just moved? So does it matter whether it's colder in January than it was in December now, and it's going that way?
It matters. These small things matter, much as if I was to put a drop of cyanide into your coffee. It might only be tiny, but it would in the end put a pay to you. The same thing.
Well, it might put a pay to me immediately if you put cyanide in my coffee, Jim.
Yeah, I'm sort of giving you an analogy that people can understand. But the idea being is that these small movements, incremental movements, they might sound small, but they're big in their own right. Look, German climatologists have actually suggested that by 2050, not that far away, we could be seeing 3 degrees. And if we see 3 degrees, it will decimate this Earth. It will literally
kill. Do you feel
millions.
at times, though, that, year after year, if talk had been going 50 years ago and you'd been coming on as a young teenager full of all the knowledge you have now, you would have been warning of a doom and gloom, and yet most people don't see this doom and gloom. Now, maybe they're not living with it like you, but it always feels like that we are being warned how awful it is. Yeah. And yet, it's just not, we're not feeling it, Jim.
Okay, I'll tell you who's feeling it, Nick, okay? Who felt it this year with the drought and the heat. And that's good old farmers, okay? Because, and according to the media out there, the drought and the heat that existed between spring and summer cost the farming industry £800 million, okay? Because they could not grow what they could normally grow. What grew perished, essentially, lack of water, etc. So we go from one difficulty, which is the drought and the heat, into another, which is floods.
But Jim, you make that point very well, but I would say, for example, the French are busy buying up the Sussex and Surrey Downs because they think this climate change is quite a good thing, and they're producing better wine there than they are in France. So aren't we just shifting things around a bit rather than heading towards Armageddon?
Well, it's a bit of both, in actual fact. And I don't want to. You just before you came to me, you were on about hope and fear, etc.
Yeah.
Well, fear will hold you prisoner. Hope will set you free. Okay, I think that's the Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, remember. And I think it's the same with climate. We can't be looking at this as being it's the end of the world. It may well be the end of the world as we know it going forward, but it's not the end of the world. We've got yet to get there in terms of making sure that, we won't sit still, but look at Spain, for example. It's becoming a desert. And slowly, and I say slowly but surely, very quickly, to be frank with you, the Sahara is now into Portugal and Spain, and it's moving on. So in certain circuits, and there will be winners and there will be losers, but it's the losers when you get catastrophes that are only going to get bigger, because the more heat you put into the oceans and the atmosphere, it can hold more water. It will send us into more extremes of heat, as we're already seeing around the world. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to look a little bit wider than our own little patch, if you like, our own garden, our own country. Sometimes you have to look over the edge somewhere and say what's going on, for example, in Southeast Asia with their massive floods, etc., that they've endured. And as I just mentioned, the blowtorch Christmas in the United States, same sort of thing. The graphs, as well, Nick, we've had conversations in the past. The graphs are, the temperature graphs, the emissions graphs are in one direction, and it looks like the face of the Eiger, and that's not a good thing.
Jim, what's your favourite song at Christmas?
Oh, geez, it's definitely not the ones they play in supermarkets, that's for sure. I'm gonna say, was that Noel one?
Yeah, there is one. I'm going to recommend one for you. All right.
Oh, go on then.
Okay. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, and the wildfires aren't so delightful. That's got to be Jim's song, isn't it? I mean,
well,
do you wake up? Do you sing that every day when it comes to weather?
Yeah, okay, I'll buy that one. Look, Nick, it's Christmas. You get let off for a lot of things. You just got let off for that one.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm terribly sorry about that. But look, Jim, it's always good to talk to you, but I've got one more task for you, okay? Yeah. I am going through Christmas cracker jokes because I'm trying to give people something to smile about today. We've done a lot of serious stuff, and you've covered some serious stuff as well, although I know that there's a lot of controversy and disagreement with that, and I'm sure that'll be provoked later in the show. But what do you call a reindeer with bad manners?
He sits and thinks.
Come on, man. You can do this.
Bad manners. Is it anything to do with the group, Bad Manners?
And the answer is...
Go on.
Rude Ulf.
Rude off. Yes, okay.
No, come on, that was brilliant. I mean, seriously.
Are these real jokes?
All right, yeah. Now, listen, look, these are cracker jokes. I'm going to give you one more, okay? Because I know people are hanging on my every word. Why did no one bid for Rudolph and Blitzen on eBay? Because they were too dear. Jim, I'm sorry, you probably will not put this interview in your portfolio when it comes to showing your expertise as weather. But thank you for that. Thanks for chatting and covering some serious points as well. And I wish you a very happy Christmas. So, look, I'm reading these Christmas cracker jokes out because no one's told me to stop. Nick, nice to have you back. I want politicians to stop using the word change, brackets, especially when mournfully and nasally intoned. I can't think who you're thinking of, without saying what the change they intend actually is, says Jess in Dover. What have Santa Claus and Nigel Farage got in common? They only visit Clacton once a year. Ooh, ouch. Oh, I wonder what Nigel Farage would say about that. Listen, still chance for you to share with me your thoughts on what message you would like to give Keir Starmer this Christmas. He's given you one. This is your chance. You can call me on 0344 499 1000. I love the voice notes that are coming in and the text messages. Again, same number, 0344 499 1000. And I will happily talk to you about anything, of course, but I think we've given you quite a lot to talk about here. With me, Nick de Bois, sitting in for Ian Collins on Talk Today.
brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
One thing about hosting a show is you do get to really talk about sometimes what I really want to talk about, and it's very satisfying. I come from a service family. My father was RAF. He was actually in the war, flying Sunderlands, of all things. He also managed to get shot down in one, which was quite an achievement. But my son is in the army as well, and I know at this time of year there are a huge number of service personnel who are serving overseas. Many will not be with family. Others will certainly have family at the base if they're not with them necessarily on Christmas Day. They are constantly on guard. They are constantly working for us. I won't get into the politics around it at all. This is my message to them is thank you for everything you do. You are hugely appreciated wherever you may be serving across whatever service, whatever role you are doing. But particularly for those who are abroad, who will be away from family, I wish you the very happiest of Christmas and hopefully a safe and happy New Year to you all. Now, let's go to Martin in Portsmouth. Hello, Martin.
Nick there. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm going to say to your guy there, it was the Archers that did it, right? You know the soap opera The Archers?
Yes, yes.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah, well, I used to listen to it. Very farming-based community, of course.
This Christmas, they're having a tractor run through the village, you know. Everybody's jolly and little stories and whatever. But I'm wondering, the government said, if people hear the word tractor run, they'll think of the farmers and it'll be blighting our Christmas. So we'll do all we can for the farmers so the storyline doesn't get into the community. You know, they do have farming storylines, you know.
Yeah, no, they do. No, very big in it from what I remember.
The trouble is, they're always about 3 weeks. They put things down 3 weeks before they're done, you know.
Yeah, well, they might have to change it, given what's just happened. Why do you think it took the government so long to recognise the huge error they were making? It took a year, basically.
It took a year. I mean, I think every move he makes is blighted. You know what I mean? He's like a cursed person. You know, if he opens his mouth, it's wrong. He puts his foot in it. You know.
Yeah.
He's got a built-in gimmick because he sounds like the MASH people. For MASH get smashed.
I don't know that particular group thing, whatever. But were you ever a supporter? Did you ever think, you know, way back in those heady days 18 months ago, this bloke's all right, he's going to be okay? Oh.
Visually impaired, you see, so I only hear the voices of people.
Yeah.
And while I get my politics through radio shows and newspapers. I mean, the interesting thing is, if Reform joined the Conservatives, they'll have to call themselves the Reform Tories. Which is
do you think
to give up?
Would you welcome the chance of the Reform and the Tories getting together?
Here's the one. He wasn't a Euro MP. He's got politics in him.
Who's this? Who are you talking about?
Nigel, right?
Yes.
He's got politics in him, and the people who are joining him are ex-governments.
Yeah, ex-Conservative. But don't forget, Nigel Farage was a Conservative for many, many years. It was the Maastricht Treaty, I think, that he bailed on them, which goes back to the 90s.
Here's the one that I remember. I remember on the back of a bus, a photograph of Nigel Farage as Mrs. Thatcher, and them saying, if you vote for him, you'll get her. Have you ever saw that picture?
Yes, no. Well, in some ways, I've got to say, and I'll share this with you, in my 2015 bid to get re-elected, UKIP were already attracting a lot of votes. Many Eurosceptics were very disappointed with David Cameron, despite his pledge to hold a referendum. And actually, although I increased my vote at the election, Labour increased their vote more, but I would have won had UKIP not put in such a strong performance. So I'm not saying that it's directly because of that, but the numbers suggest that if they had stuck with the Conservatives, I would have been returned. So I understand the sentiment when someone says, if you vote for X, you might get Y. It is true.
Well, the Labour Party have got their own party now, your party. It's just scuttling the voting, isn't it? You know,
that's not Nick de Bois' party. That's your party, which is Corbyn's lot, isn't it? That's right. Listen, Martin, thank you very much for your call. You can keep those calls coming on 0344 499 1000. Particularly, send me a message or call if you've got a message. We've got half an hour left for you to give your Christmas message to Keir Starmer. I think it's been fantastic and very good idea that was suggested just to give you your chance to deliver that message. Now, let's go through one or two that I've got here. What's changed about Christmas since we've left the EU, says David Legater. I think this is a joke. No Brussels. Yep, that was a joke. OK, well, it is Christmas. Nick, Starmer's speech went down like a lead balloon. His remark about going to the pub, no, they have all closed. Is he having a laugh, says Margaret in Birmingham. I think that was a point I made to the Labour advisor, who, to be fair, didn't want to agree with me. Hi, Nick. Can't see much climate change here. We are in Calgary, -20 last night and snowing heavily. Yet, funny enough, since talking to Jim, I forgot to mention to him that the Sierra Nevada in Spain, which is as south as you can get, is actually covered in snow at the moment. Nick, nice to have you back, says Jessica. I want politicians to stop using the word change. Oh, yes, I've read that. My apologies. But, Jessica, you got 2 hits at that. So that's my fault for doing that. Nick, Edinburgh Council have been attacking cars for the last 3 years. Yes, we had a great call about the war on cars. One Green politician, one Green Pratt, as you put it, has the deciding vote. They are deliberately creating congestion to force a ULEZ, ultra-low emission zone, and force people off the roads. All new planning says no cars and flats will not be sold to those with cars. Flats will not be sold to those with cars. I would have thought there's a court case waiting to happen there. All you see is another Pratt on a bike with kids in a box, which he says is virtue signalling, using all bike lanes they're put in during COVID with no planning consent. The councils and civil service are the problem. MPs are just puppets. £9 per hour to park and the city is dying. I keep saying him, but it's actually from Betty. That just shows I read these live without actually editing them. That's not bad, isn't it? We'll be talking about Christmas telly and how it's changed over the years. And we'll be speaking to Chantal Rickards, OBE, film and TV executive and former CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Here's another cracker joke for you. What do you sing at a snowman's birthday party? Freeze a jolly good fellow. Oh yes, that was brilliant, wasn't it? Well, that could be the standard of TV entertainment you get this Christmas or not. What will you be watching on Christmas Day? You might get a double whammy of Death in Paradise, which I quite like actually, and Beyond Paradise. It's a festive special, who knows? May I draw your eyes to Call the Midwife? That's another thing that might be on coming for Christmas Day. But frankly, bring back Morecambe and Wise, not literally, obviously. Play some of the old stuff, because my own view is that it's not that great at the moment. And maybe that's just because it's changing and evolving. Do you know, I think, team, if you can find a clip of Morecambe and Wise, why don't you just play that?
Is there? No. Funny that. Yeah. It was packed in there this morning. It was, yeah. Couldn't move. We were like that, weren't we? Feather to feather, yeah. It's true what I told you, you know. Tell me again what you told me inside there. Every word of it's true. You're not trying to scare me, are you? No, I'm not trying to scare you. Oh? You see, humans... Yes? Every year at this time... You know what humans are, don't you? Those tall things on sticks. That's right. Every year they celebrate what is known as Christmas. Do they? Yeah, and they gorge themselves with food and drink.
Well, for those that were listening and not watching, I should have preempted that by saying there's the famous Morecambe and Wise doing a turkey routine dressed as turkeys, and the audience loved it. I don't know, it's probably politically incorrect now to dress up as a turkey and talk about, well, no, I was about to make a bad joke there, which would have ended my career days on broadcasting. But, you know, great classics that were out there. Maybe I'm just a bit old and nostalgic. Let's talk to Chantal Rickards, OBE, film and TV executive, and of course former CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles. Chantal, is it me, or is just Christmas TV now not the same?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because you mentioned nostalgia. And actually, Christmas is all about nostalgia. And we love those touch points that we find every year, and those wonderful moments that bring us all together around the telly. And it's not really the same in many other countries. They don't have what we have, of that lovely festive moment where we're all slightly sozzled. You know, it's sort of late in the afternoon. You might have done the King's Speech or not, but you're sort of slowly resting, thinking you cannot eat another thing.
Slipping down your sofa as you watch TV.
Slipping down the sofa, yeah. Grandpa probably fast asleep and quietly belching away in whilst he's dreaming of a white Christmas, and the rest of us are sitting around watching whatever it may be. Now, you are right, there are fantastic Christmas specials on this year, and to those detractors I would say, bar humbug. Go back to your den, because actually it's a time where we should all be in a great mood and come together and have some fun. And I think it's just a lovely punctuation mark for the day where everybody just slumps in front of the telly together. I mean, in America, they don't really do it because Christmas isn't the same in the US. And their big festive moment comes at Thanksgiving. And then what they all do is they watch a sports game. So they do something, but there isn't any of that sort of light entertainment, comedy special.
Yeah, we need a day to recover before the sport, don't we? I mean, we couldn't possibly do it on Christmas Day. It would look rather bad. But as a child, I lived in Holland. I said earlier, my parents were RAF service family, and we ended up living out in Holland, and there was a base there. And their TV was quite interesting because they had their Christmas really on St. Nicholas Day, which was the 6th of December. Come Christmas Day, it was still Christmas Day. They had the trees and everything like that. But you got a lot of English television. Yeah, and actually there was huge demand for things like Upstairs, Downstairs in those days, where there would be an equivalent of a Christmas special. But Morecambe and Wise would play. And for me, it was lovely because they didn't dub it. They'd have it in English because most Dutch people speak speak brilliant English, and they just have Dutch subtitles. So we were kind of exporting our humour then. But do you think, when you look at Christmas now, is part of the challenge is that I could go next door and watch something in another room. My wife could stay in another room and stream something, or you do catch up. Has it lost, to me, a little bit of that magic? Because everyone can go and watch what they want. You're not fighting over whether it's the James Bond film or something else on the other side.
No, I think what it is everybody still likes the shared experience. And actually, most people don't disappear off into their rooms to look at their own TV afterwards. Yes, you and I grew up at a time where there was probably only one telly in the house. If you go back to Morecambe Wise, say 78, for example, nearly 30 million people watched Morecambe Wise on Christmas Day because there was only one telly in the house, and that's what you all did, and that's fantastic. Last year, I think, overall, about 19 million people watched the Gavin and Stacey special. Clearly, viewing patterns have changed, and what we consume on Christmas Day changes. But it is still, it's a very important moment at which everybody comes together. The programmes that are put out by the broadcasters have got as broad an appeal as possible to get as many generations around.
Is that what makes a great TV show, that it has to try? Is it measured in numbers, or is there, if you like, in your opinion, a formula that will mean it lasts beyond this year, that we'll always talk about it? A bit like sort of Andre Previn and Morecambe and Wise, which some people will know what I'm talking about.
Well, if there were a formula, we'd be making this sort of stuff all the time. There is TV magic that comes from somewhere. I was talking only last week about AI and its effect on storytelling and filmmaking and television. And where are we all going to be if we just let AI dream up all the scripts from now onwards? I don't think it's going to improve storytelling. There's a whole load of things that AI can't do. So let's just let writers be what they are, be good at what they do, which is creating fantastic stories from human experience, because that's where all storytelling comes from. But I do think that if you look at all the figures about Christmas television viewing, that most people will say, in fact, I think it's around between 55 and 60%, that the Christmas TV viewing experience is massively important to them as part of their Christmas activities.
That is interesting. Now, look, I did mention in my introduction to you that you're the former CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles. So it kind of begs the question, how recognised or even celebrated is, let's call it festival telly at BAFTA? We hear about the whole year generally, we will hear about the greats, but is there any particular recognition for the Christmas season, or should there be?
No, I mean, if the BAFTA TV Awards and the BAFTA Film Awards, people enter their films and enter their TV programmes, and if they think that they're Beyond Paradise, which the Christmas special that I actually watched this morning, which is already there.
This is work, though, isn't it? Come on. I mean, you have a pretty good job.
No, I mean, I have to say, I have a great job, and watching telly is definitely part of that. And watching films, actually, at this time of the year is very onerous for people like me who are BAFTA members, because we have about 250 films that we have to watch by the 29th of December to allow for the voting period to start for the BAFTA Awards, which happen in the early part of next year. So I'm crammed at this time of the year, trying to get in 2 or 3 films a day on top of all my general TV viewing.
I can hear the groans of sympathy that someone here is actually going to be paid effectively for watching films. Now, listen, let me draw on you, if I may, a little bit. What would you be watching, over the Christmas period, not just tomorrow?
Okay, well, I'll definitely be watching Amandaland tomorrow on BBC. Okay. For those that haven't seen it, you should go back to the beginning of the series.
That includes me.
Go back. Honestly, it's pure joy. It's sort of naughty, it's scurrilous, it's funny, it's very well intentioned, and it's just beautifully done. It's well made, it's well written.
Is it about, I've vaguely got an idea. Tell me briefly what it's about, if you like.
It's about a single woman or a divorced woman who has a slightly cranky mother who she doesn't really get on with. And it's about her arriving in sort of reduced circumstances into a different part of North London where her children are going to a different school and how she fits in with the other mums. And it goes on from there. I mean, that is just a snapshot, but it's beautifully done. It's actually very, very good comedy.
It is comedy, is it? Okay, give us a clue. What else to watch for or look out for, would you say?
I think everybody should watch the King's Speech, 3:00 tomorrow.
Here. And stand, by the way. I insist, Chantal, you stand when the King is speaking. You know, we have to do that.
Not sure I stand, but I'll think about it, Nick, for this year. Carols from King's College, Cambridge is always a favourite at home, so that's this afternoon on BBC Two.
Lovely.
And my big hope is for a really great return for The Night Manager on the BBC.
Oh, yes. Now that I would recommend.
Yeah. I'm a big Tom Hiddleston fan, and it was terrific.
Well, for those that haven't seen it, I found it a really captivating drama. But how would you describe it? Because it's not a whodunit or anything like that.
But it is a thriller.
Yeah.
It's a thriller. It's, bad guys and good guys. And Tom Hiddleston is always on the right of good, which is great. And he is, it's as it starts originally, he was the night manager in a hotel, I think, in Switzerland or Austria. And it's a great, ripping yarn. And it's really gripping. There's a bit of political intrigue. There's a lot of crime, but very, very well characterized people. So, and terrific acting.
Great recommendation there. I have not actually decided what to watch, and I'm only going to talk to you and me. You see, we got the sister-in-law around. We've got her husband, and we got friends and family. Now the problem there is, right, you're not necessarily being very sociable as a host if you kind of say, right, shut up everyone and watch the TV, are you? It's a tricky one to handle, isn't it? Got any tips?
It is, but that's the beauty of catch-up, and we were all lucky enough to have a catch-up service these days, either on our Skybox or indeed on our iPads or wherever. So we can catch up anything we want to. There is nothing better than having fun and laughter and communication with friends. And if the telly has to take a backward step, so be it. You can catch it up another time.
I'm going to read this to you from Shirley in Shropshire. What annoys me about Christmas shows is that they're filmed in August. Leaves on the trees, flowers in the bloom, all the whole presenters are in winter jumpers pretending they're getting ready for Christmas. Shirley's annoyed by that. I'm not sure there's an alternative really, though, is there?
No, and Shirley, you are absolutely right. It is very, it's a point well made. I used to love that moment in the middle of the summer when I worked for Yorkshire Television, part of ITV.
Ah, yes.
As it was then, and you would see somebody walking across from the prop store going towards Studio 4 with a Christmas tree under their arm, and they may be wearing shorts and a t-shirt because it was so hot outside, but it was the middle of July and they were just about to go in to record the Christmas special of the Parkinson Show or the Christmas special of the James Whale Show, and I used to love that moment.
Okay, I've got a tip. I've got a question for you. Did you feed the guests a little bit too much alcohol to get them in the seasonal spirit? Was that so-called, is it the green room, I think it's called? Was that used going back a few decades or not? Well, you wouldn't know for a few decades. Oh, my God, I've said the wrong thing.
Well, no, I certainly would. I started on Through the Keyhole in 1987, so that is a very long time ago.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And I still look after the show, and it's...
Did you lubricate the actors so they might be a bit Christmassy by the time they'd had a drink or two?
All I can tell you is there was always alcohol in the green room.
And on that note, enjoy a glass of tipple if that's your thing. Watching TV tomorrow and films tomorrow. Chantal Rickards, thank you so much for joining us, who is the former CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles and film and TV cricket. I kind of enjoyed that. I'm night manager. I do recommend that. And when I'm next back with you, you can put me right or put me wrong. Talk. My message to Starmer is you are only keeping the Prime Minister's chair warm for Nigel Farage, says John in London. You can join the conversation, 0344 499 1000. We've still got 12 minutes or so before Johnny Gould is up to take us on from 4 till 7. I'm Nick de Bois, sitting in for Ian Collins on Here in Talk.
2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome back. I don't need to read my own cracker jokes now. You're all sending them in. What hides in a bakery at Christmas? A mince spy. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. They are getting as bad as mine. Good afternoon, Nick. My message to Keir Starmer is get a grip on the criminals who are breaking into our country. It is the first responsibility of a Prime Minister to keep the people safe and secure, and his current neglect of this is putting citizens in danger of very serious harm. Great show. Thank you, Phil, and thank you for sending me in your message if you wish to do that. The number is 0344 499 1000. Still time to get a voice message in as well. Nick, over the last 20 years, every single previous Prime Minister's Christmas message has mentioned something positive for the future. This goes to the heart of the point I was trying to make. This year is the first year that hasn't happened. I do not agree that Starmer should have included something positive for the new year, because unless there is going to be a general election, there is nothing positive to look forward to. Sorry, Mark from Yorkshire. Don't be sorry, Mark. I love the views. Let's go across the North Atlantic to Michigan. Cindy, happy Christmas Eve to you.
Happy Christmas Eve to you, Nick. I'm so happy to see you. Please be on Talk More.
Well, that's very kind. To be fair to Talk, I am only really looking to do cover work, so forgive me. I won't be here as much. I'll miss you all, but I'm also very happy to come back whenever they need the cover.
Yeah, I'm going to miss you, and I hope to see you again, because I'm going to miss you.
You will. You will.
Yeah, let's talk about Bob Vylan.
Yes, now, just to remind people, Bob Vylan, of course, the performer who called for the death to the IDF and yelled out "River to the Sea," deeply offensive to Jewish people, and frankly I found it very offensive, and I'm not Jewish, and he's not going to be prosecuted by our peace. Yes, Cindy, over to you.
Yeah, what he said was incitement of violence. There's a line that can't be crossed when it comes to speech that you can, free speech. There's a line, and when you're inciting, like in the U.S., that's breaking the law.
Well, it's interesting. You see, there's so many of us who agree with you on the way you've summed it up. But the police said, well, it's very complex, and we don't believe there is sufficient evidence. I mean, the guy was broadcast around the world. It's pretty clear.
How many times did he have to say it? Yeah. He said it like 50,000 times.
Jumping across the stage and echoed by the audience, by the way.
Yeah, right? He gathered the audience to join in. I mean, what the
And shame
heck
on
is
them.
that?
I just shame on them.
Shame on
Yeah.
Yes, shame on them, and especially shame on him, and shame on the justice system and the police that failed the people.
Well, by the way, Cindy, you might not know this. Sorry to cut you off. You might not know this. In their statement, the police went on to say, well, we consulted with over 200 people to see, basically, paraphrase, to see if they thought that this was a really bad thing to do. I mean, goodness, do you do that in America? Someone's just burgled a shop. Before we prosecute, so we just ask you your opinion.
Right, that's a joke.
Isn't it just?
Yeah, what 200 people?
Well, exactly.
You were asked, I'm sure.
Well, if they were all at Glastonbury, we know what they would have said.
And who takes a survey? You get robbed. Let's take a survey to see, if it's an offense or not. That's an excuse. It is an excuse to not do their jobs because they've been two-tier so many times. It's ridiculous. I mean, I want to know what's going on with them.
You see, the thing that gets me on a very serious point about this is that we've just had the police in Manchester, we've had the police in London saying that they're not going to put up with global intifada. They're not going to put up with language that actually is an incitement to hatred. And yet here we have another police force in the west of our country who've decided that it's perfectly okay to call for the death to the IDF. It's totally okay to stand from a stage and, as it happens, be broadcast pretty much around the world through streaming from the river to the sea, which we all know, just link the two. It's horrific on its own. It's bad enough. So we have multiple different responses depending on which police force you're in. I mean, that's shocking, don't you think?
It's very shocking, and it's more than that. It's insulting to everybody's intelligence. Insulting, like we're stupid, like we don't know what those things mean. Like there could be dual meaning. We know what it means.
Cindy, I'm so sorry. We've come to the end of the show. I've got someone very impatient who wants to come and sit in this seat, Johnny Gould, of course. So stay tuned, stay listening to him, because we're going to find out. Johnny, welcome. Oh, gosh, you're in a tie.
Is it okay to wear a tie?
Suit. Yeah, I mean, you're a bit posh, mate. This is like, look at me, I'm a bit...
Well, it's nice to chill out as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see how to dress, right... Stay tuned beyond the top of the hour because Johnny Gould's here to do his thing. And
I haven't really checked if my tie is at half-mast after that very impressive introduction. Listen, by the way, Cindy, don't get upset. I know you're always welcome to 3 hours on my show as well. We've got Mike Neville coming up and we're going to talk about the thwarted terror attack, which, thank goodness,
in Manchester.
That was... seen through and overturned, because I think that would have changed history in this country. It's the sort of catastrophic event, had it have happened, which would have been like Bataclan, machine gunning innocent civilians, Jewish and non-Jewish, in an area in Manchester, which would have changed the consensus of this country, albeit it has injected new fear and, I hope, a realisation in the powers that be that fix this.
Johnny, I don't want to steal your time to introduce your show, but isn't just what happened at Bondi Beach, albeit in another country, enough to change the narrative here?
I'm not sure that we have the political leadership beyond the United States.
Well, you should
to
be
fix
sure.
This.
Yes,
I really don't. We have
shocking.
identikit leaders in Britain, France and Canada who are out of
and
time.
Australia, really. His Albanese's response to this has not been universally welcomed to what happened in Bondi Beach.
They're out of time, aren't they, Nick? They just seem out of kilter with what's really going on there, and particularly the consensus of the countries. Do we want our freedoms in this country? Yes, we do.
And it is that serious, by the way.
Yes.
And on another level, totally unrelated, we're attacking the jury system. We are really, really seeing this country be changed before our eyes, and we are sleepwalking into a nightmare.
Yes.
Anyway, what else got coming up next? I'm trying to cheer people up.
I'd like to have Mike Neville on for more than 20 minutes, because he would be able to bring sense to a whole host of those things. The Bob Villan situation.
Yes.
The Starmer's farmer U-turn. Yeah. We're going to talk to a turkey farmer.
Ah, how very appropriate.
So we'll talk realpolitik in the first part, and then we'll talk about how the turkey arrives on your table tomorrow.
Do you think you need to be careful not to be too explicit there, because we all like to think of a nicely packaged turkey arriving without too much thought where it's come from, don't we?
I know, but we are also... I mean,